Shizuki, an introverted middle schooler, often found himself the subject of gossip. One day, he overheard a group of girls mocking him. They teased one of their friends for speaking to him, calling him creepy. The girl, with a cruel smile, agreed, adding that associating with someone like Shizuki only made her look better. Their laughter stung, leaving Shizuki with a painful realization: he was seen as worthless. This moment marked a turning point, showing him the cruelty behind appearances and deepening his feelings of isolation. Years later, Shizuki is now in high school. He sits quietly in class, focused on his notes, when a boy reminds him it's time to go to the cafeteria. Shizuki calmly responds that he'll join them after finishing his work. The boy jokes about Shizuki's slow pace, to which Shizuki explains it's harder to see from the back. As the boy leaves, Shizuki feels a sense of accomplishment. His plan to reinvent himself is working. Since starting high school, he's successfully integrated into a social circle he once only dreamed of. To him, this is a personal victory after the misery he endured in middle school. His hard work has paid off. No one here knows about his past, except for one person. Shizuka Kusunoki, a girl from his middle school, also attends the same high school. Known for her beauty and rumored popularity, some even say she's a model. Although Shizuki has never spoken to her, he feels an unspoken connection. They used to spend time in the library, and in his mind they're alike. But he reminds himself of his vow to avoid beautiful women, a lesson he learned the hard way. As he leaves the classroom, he tells himself that even though both he and Kusunoki came from the bottom, they have no reason to acknowledge it. As Shizuki walks down the hall, Kusunoki suddenly appears in front of him, calling his name. Startled, Shizuki freezes as the other students' attention shifts toward them. Kusunoki, visibly upset, apologizes and asks for his help. Shizuki is caught off guard, unsure why she's speaking to him so openly. To his surprise, tears form in her eyes as she explains she's in trouble and only he can understand her situation. Shizuki, struggling to comprehend, wonders why she's come to him after all this time. Kusunoki then comments that Shizuki has changed since middle school, which causes him to blurt out that she's changed too. Embarrassed by his outburst, he quickly apologizes, but Kusunoki's expression softens. She asks if he's okay, not realizing she has unknowingly triggered an old wound for Shizuki. Ever since that day in middle school, making eye contact with beautiful girls causes him physical discomfort. Despite this, Shizuki reassures her he's fine and suggests they talk somewhere quieter. The two find a bench in a nearby park, where Kusunoki opens up. She admits that, despite her outward transformation, she still feels like the same person inside. She's been avoiding others, but it's becoming harder to keep up the facade. Shizuki, reflecting on their shared past, listens carefully. He wonders if she sought him out because of this unspoken connection, and she confirms his suspicion. Shizuki tries to offer support, admitting he also struggles with fitting in. But to his surprise, Kusunoki disagrees. She tells him she admires how effortlessly he interacts with their classmates, unaware of the inner battles he still faces. Shizuki is puzzled by Kusunoki's admission, assuming she has friends like anyone else. However, Kusunoki reveals that, despite interacting with people, she doesn't feel close to anyone and believes the girls in their class avoid her. Shizuki, who always thought she was popular, is surprised. He had seen her surrounded by boys, but now realizes that her situation mirrors his own. Kusunoki continues, explaining that even though she changed her appearance, it doesn't matter if she remains the same inside. She confesses that she was isolated in middle school because she thought she was a bad person. Hearing this, Shizuki is reminded of his own past and suddenly urges her to be more confident. Caught off guard by his intensity, Kusunoki listens as Shizuki asks why she wanted a fresh start in high school. He points out that her efforts to change show how much she cares. Encouraging her to take small steps, he assures her that with practice, interacting with others will get easier. Midway through his words, Shizuki realizes he's speaking to her without feeling sick, which leaves him both confused and relieved. As he prepares to leave, Kusunoki stops him and asks how she should take those small steps. After a moment's thought, Shizuki suggests that making one real friend could lead to more. Out of the blue, Kusunoki asks if he would be her friend. Taken aback, Shizuki wonders why she's so eager and hesitates. He suspects that once she improves her social skills, she'll become even more popular and might not need him. Still, seeing her vulnerability, he reluctantly agrees. Kusunoki is overcome with emotion, thanking him tearfully. Shizuki, feeling uncertain, tells her their friendship is temporary, just until she makes other friends. Kusunoki remains cheerful, saying she's happy either way. Shizuki, confused by her response, reflects on how her presence no longer triggers his symptoms. He thinks that if their friendship doesn't worsen his condition, perhaps it's not a bad thing, though he doubts it will change much between them. The next day at lunch, Kusunoki unexpectedly sits across from Shizuki, catching him off guard. He's irritated by the attention and the whispers from their classmates, who seem to misinterpret the situation. Kusunoki, smiling as usual, mentions that she's always wanted to eat with a friend. Shizuki is thrown by her sincerity, and moments later, his friends tease him, leaving him more frustrated. Kusunoki innocently asks what's wrong, and Shizuki, feeling defeated, mutters that he has nothing to say. Despite his irritation, Shizuki feels sorry for Kusunoki, who has never had the experience of eating with a friend. He decides to go along with it, just for today. With a soft expression, Kusunoki asks if she can call him by his first name, since they're friends now. Shizuki, bewildered, hesitates but eventually tells her she can. He then stands up and offers to get drinks for them, and Kusunoki happily joins him. As they walk through the hallway, Shizuki remains unsure of what their new friendship will mean for his life. But things take a sudden turn when they encounter his old bully from middle school. Instantly, Shizuki feels his chest tighten as painful memories rush back, reminding him of the torment he once endured. Kusunoki, concerned, asked Shizuki if he was all right. He turned around, his face full of horror, struggling to believe what was happening. The person who had caused him so much trauma stood right in front of him. He remembered searching through all the names on the class roster, confident that he hadn't seen the name Hebikawa Rarisa anywhere. Yet here she was. Another girl soon called out to Hebikawa, asking what was going on. Hebikawa then turned to Shizuki, asking if he was fine, which made him quickly hide his face, muttering that he was. After that, she addressed Kusunoki, inquiring if she was his friend. Kusunoki replied affirmatively, and Hebikawa, noticing Shizuki's discomfort, suggested that he might need to visit the infirmary. Moving closer, she advised him to take care of himself, and after saying this, she calmly walked away. Shizuki watched her leave, feeling a growing sense of confusion. Her voice, the look in her eyes, and even the ribbon in her hair triggered something in him. There was no denying it, she was definitely the same person from his past. His head started spinning with anxiety, knowing that his peaceful high school days might now be over. Kusunoki, still concerned for him, suggested they go to the infirmary, noticing how unwell he seemed. She even offered to help him if he couldn't walk, but Shizuki, still reeling from the encounter with Hebikawa, suddenly declared that he wouldn't let things end like this. His outburst took Kusunoki by surprise, but he continued, saying he wasn't going to let Hebikawa ruin his life. He explained that he had come to high school with the goal of starting over, and that his past with her had been left behind long ago. When Shizuki made this loud declaration, Kusunoki was left in a state of shock, unable to fully comprehend what he was talking about. However, out of fear or confusion, she agreed with everything he said. She then asked if he was feeling any better, and Shizuki replied that he was. He realized that if he could stay focused on his school life, he might still be able to maintain the peace he had found. With this in mind, he became determined to protect the high school life he had worked so hard to build. As the school day came to an end and students lingered in the classroom, Kusunoki approached Shizuki with a bright expression on her face. She asked if they could walk home together, her request catching him off guard. It wasn't a simple thing for Shizuki, especially since the other students had overheard her. Surprised by her question, they all turned their attention towards him, waiting for his reaction. Shizuki stammered, unsure how to respond to Kusunoki's request. Sensing his hesitation, Kusunoki asked if he had other plans. In a panic, Shizuki lied, saying yes. Smiling sweetly, she told him that if that were the case, it was fine, and that she could wait for him. Her genuine smile filled him with guilt, as it seemed too pure for the situation. Meanwhile, a group of boys from the class walked over, playfully teasing Shizuki about the idea of going home with Kusunoki. One of them placed a hand on Shizuki's shoulder, making a comment about how close they seemed. Another boy then asked if Shizuki was dating Kusunoki. Stunned by the question, Shizuki's mind raced. If these popular students started noticing him too much, his situation could get worse. He quickly denied the dating rumors and ran out of the classroom. The boys watched him go, jokingly remarking that it was a shame he had to go home that day. They then turned to Kusunoki, suggesting she join them instead. As Shizuki walked down the streets later, he muttered to himself, still in a bad mood. It had been a terrible day, and nothing seemed to be going right. He also felt guilty for leaving Kusunoki behind. While he walked, lost in his thoughts, he suddenly heard someone call out to him. Turning around, he was surprised to see Kusunoki running after him. She greeted him politely, and Shizuki, still confused, asked why she had followed him. She explained that she had been chasing after him and was tired from running. Puzzled, Shizuki asked if she had really run all that way just to catch up with him, wondering why she would go to such lengths. With a cute smile, she explained that she simply wanted to go home with him. Her words made Shizuki nervous. He placed his hand on his face, unsure how to react. Kusunoki, noticing his discomfort, asked if he disliked the idea. He quickly denied it, but raised his voice as he explained that it wasn't normal for a guy and a girl to go home together like that, even if they were friends. Kusunoki was clearly shocked by his statement. Shizuki continued, adding that even eating lunch together wasn't ideal for them. When she asked why it was such a problem, he explained that people might get the wrong idea about their relationship. After saying this, Shizuki resumed walking, telling Kusunoki not to talk to him too much in the classroom from now on. He hoped she understood the situation, even if she didn't like it. Still, Kusunoki wasn't discouraged. She called out to him again and explained that she hadn't had many opportunities to talk to people at school and was struggling to make friends. She then politely asked if she could start calling him at night. Shizuki, surprised, turned back to her. She clarified that phone calls would be a way for them to talk without people misunderstanding their relationship. Repeating her request, she asked if that would be all right. Shizuki hesitated, feeling conflicted. He wasn't sure if it was appropriate to have phone conversations with a female friend at night, or if he was just overthinking the situation. Kusunoki continued to ask, her tone soft and polite, while Shizuki looked at her, still confused and unsure of what to do. Late at night, Shizuki lay on his bed, staring at his phone. It was already past midnight, and his mind wandered to Kusunoki. Her phone number was saved in his contacts now, something that still felt strange to him. He thought back to when she had asked if they could talk on the phone. At that moment, Shizuki had been unsure of what to make of her request, but he had agreed. Now, both of them had each other's numbers. When Kusunoki saw his name appear on her screen, she had been amazed and then politely asked if she could call him that night. Shizuki had been taken by surprise but told her he would call her instead. She had agreed with a sweet smile, telling him she would be waiting for his call. But Shizuki had said this not out of convenience but because he needed time to mentally prepare himself. Now, lying there, he debated what to do next. He didn't want to make the call and didn't even know what they would talk about. He hadn't spoken to her in so long that he felt completely out of his depth. As he pondered, his eyes fell on the alarm clock. Setting it for 10 minutes, he decided to limit the conversation to that time. Gathering his courage, he made the call. When Kusunoki answered, Shizuki greeted her, introducing himself awkwardly. Kusunoki responded with her name, and the conversation quickly hit a lull. Shizuki apologized for calling so late, but Kusunoki reassured him, thanking him for taking the time to call. Silence followed, and Shizuki realized how awkward things were. He needed to say something, anything, to keep the conversation going. Desperate, he brought up the weather, asking if it was colder than the day before. Kusunoki agreed that it was, and Shizuki mentioned that he wasn't a fan of cold weather. He then asked about her preference, to which she simply replied that she didn't mind it. Feeling uncomfortable, Shizuki noted the lack of detail in her answers. The conversation was becoming more awkward by the minute. With only 5 minutes left on the clock, he scrambled to find a safer topic and asked her about her hobbies. Kusunoki, now more engaged, told him she liked watching anime and reading manga. This surprised Shizuki, and he admitted that he also enjoyed those things. Curious, he asked what genres she liked. Kusunoki then launched into an enthusiastic and detailed explanation about her favorite series. Listening to her go on, Shizuki found himself feeling overwhelmed. Her excitement contrasted sharply with how quiet she had been earlier. He commented that she sounded like a stereotypical otaku, which she took in stride, asking him what his favorite manga was. Shizuki thought back to his childhood and mentioned that he liked a series called Nova. To his surprise, Kusunoki replied that she also loved it and owned all the volumes. Just then, his alarm clock went off. Shizuki hurried to stop the noise, but Kusunoki, curious, asked about the sound. He brushed it off, saying it was nothing, and then shifted the topic, mentioning a rumor he had heard about a third part of Nova being serialized next year. Kusunoki's interest piqued even more, and she asked him to tell her everything about it. The next day, sitting in class, Shizuki felt groggy. He glanced at his phone and noticed the call timer from his conversation with Kusunoki. To his shock, it had lasted for an hour and 32 minutes. He couldn't believe how long they had talked and felt slightly unsettled by how naturally the conversation had flowed once it picked up. He reassured himself, thinking that it made sense since they shared similar interests as fellow otakus. While Shizuki was lost in thought, Kusunoki walked into the classroom. He noticed immediately that she looked gloomy, a stark contrast to her usual cheerful self. This surprised him. As she placed her bag on the desk and greeted him, Shizuki responded kindly but couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He wondered what could have happened, given how happy she had been the night before. Still, he reminded himself not to get too involved. During school hours, he resolved to avoid interacting with her too much, fearing the complications it could bring. Despite his decision, Shizuki found himself unable to stop glancing at her. As the school day ended and students began packing to leave, he saw her in the corridor. Against his better judgment, he called out to her. She turned, asking if something was wrong. Shizuki hesitated but eventually mentioned that she seemed down today, a fact that had been bothering him. Even though he had planned to avoid her, he realized that saying nothing would only make things more uncomfortable for him. Kusunoki began talking about their phone call from the previous night. She admitted that she had realized she was the one doing all the talking and that it had made her feel guilty. With a sad expression, she apologized, her regret evident on her face. Shizuki, stunned by her reaction, quickly reassured her. He explained that their phone calls were meant to help her get used to talking more, so there was no need for her to feel bad. It wasn't a big deal. But Kusunoki remained upset, sitting down and expressing how the conversation had felt one-sided. She confessed that while she had enjoyed it, she felt awful thinking she was the only one who did. Shizuki, feeling sympathy for her, told her not to apologize. In fact, he admitted, the conversation had been surprisingly enjoyable for him, too. Kusunoki seemed taken aback by his words, and for a moment, the tension between them eased. Suddenly, Shizuki's friends, Harino and Tsuji, appeared. Shizuki was startled by their arrival, and they teased him, asking what he was up to. They mentioned that they had been looking for him since he had disappeared on them. Approaching closer, they asked if they were interrupting something. One of them even joked that Shizuki seemed to be forgetting about his friends. Shizuki, flustered, assured them that it wasn't like that. Harino then asked directly what his relationship with Kusunoki was. Panicked, Shizuki quickly bid Kusunoki farewell, leaving her visibly surprised by his abrupt behavior. He told her to head home, and she agreed, though she seemed a bit confused. His friends looked disappointed, pressing him once more to clarify if he was really not going with her. They even apologized for their earlier teasing. Shizuki reassured them again, insisting that he wasn't involved in anything romantic. As they walked away, Kusunoki, already some distance off, suddenly stopped and called out to Shizuki. With a cheerful smile, she told him that she had really enjoyed their time together last night. Then, she waved and wished him goodbye. Shizuki stood frozen, his friends now staring at him with a mix of surprise and amusement. They exchanged glances before teasing him, saying it seemed like he had indeed enjoyed himself last night. Shizuki, growing more flustered, quickly tried to explain that nothing of the sort had happened, insisting it was all just a misunderstanding. In class, Harino looked at Shizuki with a serious expression and asked if he had really done nothing with Kusunoki. Shizuki tried to remain calm and repeated that their relationship wasn't like that. Harino admitted that he didn't fully trust him, which only gave Shizuki a headache. He couldn't help but think that Kusunoki's vague comments were partly to blame for the confusion. Tsuji chimed in, pointing out that Shizuki was the only guy Kusunoki called by his first name, and they seemed unusually close. Tsuji added that, in his opinion, they looked quite intimate. Shizuki explained that he and Kusunoki just happened to attend the same middle school and that she was the girl he felt closest to among his friends. Harino seemed surprised to hear this, saying Shizuki was lucky to have gone to school with her. He commented that Kusunoki must have been pretty back then, and wished he could have seen her. Frustrated by the conversation, Shizuki stood up and loudly told them to stop talking about it. Harino and Tsuji exchanged confused looks. Harino then expressed his desire to get along with Kusunoki as well. He asked Shizuki if he could arrange for them to have lunch together. Shizuki stepped forward and firmly declined the offer. He thought it was out of the question since Kusunoki struggled with communication, and Harino couldn't sit still. As Shizuki made his way down the stairs, the thought of Kusunoki and Harino meeting caused a headache to form. However, he quickly realized that if they could get along, he wouldn't need to worry about Kusunoki making friends. He figured that if he could facilitate that connection, it would remove one threat to his peaceful high school life. Just then, Hebikawa approached from the other side of the corridor, and they accidentally bumped into each other, causing her books to scatter all over the floor. Shizuki quickly apologized and asked if she was okay. When he looked at her, he was shocked to find her sitting on the floor. Hebikawa remarked that they seemed to keep bumping into each other, and added with a cute smile that it felt like they had a habit of meeting this way. Suddenly, feeling overwhelmed, Shizuki bowed his head and shouted in frustration. Hebikawa looked surprised by his reaction. At that moment, Tsuji arrived, taking in the scene. He noted that Shizuki appeared to be having quite a meltdown. Tsuji stepped closer and asked what was going on. Hebikawa explained that she thought Shizuki had suddenly gotten sick. Tsuji was taken aback by this. Hebikawa then turned to Shizuki and politely asked if he could stand. She requested Tsuji's help to pick up the scattered books. As they gathered the books together, Hebikawa smiled sweetly and commented on how they were such good friends. Before leaving, she told Shizuki to take care of himself, leaving him to ponder their interaction as she walked away. Tsuji suddenly grabbed Shizuki and asked if he was friends with Hebikawa. Shizuki, trembling a bit, insisted that Tsuji was mistaken and that he had no connection with her. Later, Harino asked Tsuji if he knew Hebikawa. Tsuji replied that he did and explained that he was aware of all the pretty girls in their year. He mentioned that Hebikawa was from class 8 and was rumored to be the second prettiest girl in their year. Curious, Harino then asked who the first prettiest girl was. Tsuji confidently said it was Kusunoki. Shizuki turned to Tsuji, a bit annoyed, and asked if that meant he should be grateful for getting along with Kusunoki. Tsuji nodded, adding that he would like a chance to get to know her better. He then asked Shizuki to help him out in making that happen. Shizuki agreed to ask Kusunoki about it, and Tsuji seemed pleased with that answer. Later, when Shizuki called Kusunoki to ask if they could have lunch together, she declined, stating that she wasn't interested. This caught Shizuki by surprise. He couldn't believe she was really rejecting his invitation. When he asked her why, Kusunoki wanted to know what he wanted to discuss, as he had mentioned needing to ask her something. Shizuki explained that he thought it would be a good opportunity for her to improve her communication skills, suggesting she had nothing to lose by participating. Kusunoki then clarified that when she mentioned eating together, she meant it would just be her and Harino. Shizuki informed her that Tsuji would also be joining them and politely asked if she was comfortable with having more people around. He reassured her that Harino would be a better friend to her than he was. To his surprise, Kusunoki disagreed. She insisted that if they were going to have lunch together, Shizuki should be there too. If he wasn't coming, then she wouldn't either. Shizuki could sense her sadness and asked if she was upset with him. He felt guilty and apologized, thinking it was his fault for her distress. Kusunoki responded that she was going to sleep and abruptly hung up the call. Shizuki stared at his phone, realizing that their conversation had lasted about 15 minutes. He felt puzzled, wondering if she was angry with him or if he had said something wrong. Meanwhile, Kusunoki sat on the floor, feeling sad by the exchange. The following day, Shizuki and Kusunoki made their way to the cafeteria for lunch, joined by their friends Tsuji and Harino. Once they settled around the table, Harino excitedly exclaimed that everything tasted especially good that day. He turned to Tsuji for his take, but Tsuji, maintaining his usual relaxed demeanor, shrugged it off, saying the food wasn't anything special as he sipped his juice. As Shizuki looked around the table, he couldn't help but notice how animated Harino seemed. His gaze shifted to Kusunoki, who sat quietly, her expression downcast. A wave of concern washed over him. She looked miserable, and he realized she hadn't spoken a word yet. Just then, Harino broke the silence and asked Kusunoki if she had gone to the same middle school as Shizuki. Kusunoki looked taken aback by the question. Shizuki quickly explained that although they had both attended the same middle school, they were in different classes and only started talking after entering high school. Suji chimed in, pointing out that this meant they hadn't been friends for very long. Harino then stood up with a puzzled smile on his face and nervously declared that he also wanted to be friends with Kusunoki. He extended his hand for a handshake and asked for her contact information, offering his number in return. The suddenness of his gesture left everyone in stunned silence. Kusunoki didn't respond right away, making Harino realize she was ignoring him. He quickly apologized for his abrupt approach. Shizuki observed the unfolding scene and turned to Kusunoki, assuring her that it was fine. He believed she and Harino would make good friends and added that once she got to know Harino, she would see he was a serious and nice guy. Though Kusunoki remained silent and confused, she trusted Shizuki's words and agreed to give it a try, stating that if Shizuki thought so, she could manage it. Suji and Harino looked astonished at her response. Harino quickly thanked Kusunoki for her kindness and asked her to wait, explaining that he didn't have his phone with him. Shizuki pointed out that it was probably in the classroom. Harino promised he'd return shortly. Later, Shizuki stood with Harino, who clasped his hands in front of him, genuinely thanking Shizuki for helping him establish a friendship with Kusunoki. Shizuki modestly replied that he hadn't done much, but Harino insisted that it was all thanks to him. He was surprised he had actually exchanged contact information with Kusunoki. Shizuki couldn't help but notice the unusual happiness radiating from Harino. It was clear he genuinely liked Kusunoki. With a smile, Shizuki remarked that Harino was experiencing the joys of youth. He then politely asked if they were finished, and if they should head back to class. Just then, Harino paused him with another request. Shizuki felt a bit anxious, wondering what it could be. Harino simply wanted to have lunch with Kusunoki again. Shizuki agreed and sent a message to Kusunoki on Harino's behalf. As he typed the message, a wave of irritation surged within him. He felt that Harino should be the one asking Kusunoki directly, but he sent it anyway because Harino had pleaded, saying he was too shy to make the request himself. Shizuki pondered why, if Harino was too shy to ask for lunch, he would want Kusunoki's phone number at all. During class, Shizuki noticed Kusunoki nearby. When she picked up her phone, he saw she had read his message. He gestured for her attention, but when she looked up, she suddenly averted her gaze and appeared sad, saying nothing. Shizuki felt a jolt of confusion at her reaction. Worry began to settle in. Maybe Kusunoki was ignoring him, and he couldn't shake the feeling that she might be upset. Just then, Suji approached to say goodbye as the school day ended. Shizuki returned the farewell quietly. Kusunoki stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked outside. Realizing that Kusunoki had been acting strangely since their phone call the day before, Shizuki felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. He told himself he needed to stop overthinking things about girls and get a grip. He resolved not to let Kusunoki's mood affect him, whether she was angry or not. As Kusunoki left the school, Shizuki followed her, and soon they found themselves standing together on the street. With a polite but nervous look, Kusunoki asked him what was wrong. Shizuki remained silent, staring at the ground. Although he hesitated to question her behavior, he eventually asked why she was ignoring him. Kusunoki simply replied with a question of her own, asking if they should continue talking to each other. This response left Shizuki bewildered. She pointed out that he was the one who said she shouldn't talk to him at school. Hearing this filled him with guilt. He realized she had a point. She then turned and began to walk away, stating that she knew he hated her. Shizuki was taken aback by her accusation. Kusunoki glanced back, adding that she could tell he was pushing her toward his other friends. Sadly, she stated that she knew he wanted to end their friendship, which was why she had been acting the way she had. In that moment, Shizuki realized she might be right. Even though he had reached out to her when she was struggling, he acknowledged that his own feelings had overshadowed hers. Memories from childhood resurfaced, times when he had approached others with hope, only to be rejected. He understood how deeply such actions could hurt someone. Determined to make amends, Shizuki walked up to Kusunoki, sincerely apologizing and asking for her forgiveness. She sat down on the ground, still looking sad, and admitted that she struggled to talk to boys. She revealed that she had been bullied in middle school, which made boys seem intimidating to her. Shizuki pointed out that he was a boy too, but Kusunoki quickly responded, insisting he was different from the others. She explained that they had often been in the library together and shared a class. She never expected to start high school with him or discover so many common interests. Kusunoki shared that she felt comfortable around Shizuki, which was why she was okay with him being her only male friend, despite wanting to make more friends. Overcome with emotion, Shizuki sat down beside her and began to cry, expressing that he understood and would stop trying so hard to find other friends for her. Kusunoki thanked him, and in that moment, Shizuki felt his heart pounding loudly in his chest. To his surprise, Kusunoki revealed that her heart was racing too. She gave him a warm smile and noted that this was the first disagreement she'd ever had with a friend. Shizuki realized it was the first time he had experienced something similar with a female friend, and it made his heart race even faster. Kusunoki then stood up and politely asked if they could continue talking, even at school. Shizuki agreed, happy to oblige. As she walked away with a light heart, he watched her, still puzzled and wondering about the reason behind the intense pounding of his heart.
The next day, while everyone is in class, a cheerful-looking teacher enters and announces the school's traditional dodgeball tournament. To help the new students get familiar with each other, every class will compete, and teams will be decided by drawing lots. Shizuki feels disappointed. The teachers clearly see them as kids if they're organizing a dodgeball game. The thought of being chosen worries him. Messing up in front of everyone would be humiliating. If their class competes, Hebikawa will be there too, making things even worse. His anxiety grows. When it's time to draw, Shizuki steps forward, tense. Holding the lot tightly, he prays not to be chosen. Later, he and the others sit on the stairs. Shizuki stays quiet while Suji and Harino talk excitedly. Suji drinks his juice and mentions that Shizuki was lucky, adding that he wishes he could play too. Shizuki, still uneasy, just says he wants to go home. Suji agrees, saying cheering from the sidelines is boring. Harino claps his hands and tells them to get hyped. Their energy is too low. Saying this, he moves up the stairs, ready for action. Suji asks why Harino is so excited, reminding him that he didn't even make the team and should calm down. Grinning, Harino says there's more to this than just the game. Normally, they don't have physical education with the girls, but today, they get a full display of them in workout clothes. He happily adds that this alone makes it worth it. Suji and Shizuki remain uninterested, staring ahead. Seeing their lack of reaction, Harino gets annoyed and tells them not to ignore him. Before they can respond, Kusunoki arrives and calls out to Shizuki, saying she finally found him. Dressed casually, she catches Harino off guard. She explains that the teachers are about to go over the rules and want all team members in the gym. She then asks if Shizuki wants to go with her. Before he can answer, Harino quickly speaks up, saying Shizuki will go and orders him to leave immediately. Surprised, Shizuki realizes that Kusunoki must have been chosen too. He tells her he hasn't finished eating yet and suggests she go ahead. Harino, now serious, warns him that refusing Kusunoki's invitations is not an option and orders him to go. With no choice, Shizuki reluctantly gets up and follows her. As they walk, Kusunoki asks if he's sure it's okay. Shizuki reassures her and tells her not to worry. When he looks at her properly, he notices her face seems to be glowing. He comments that she looks excited. Kusunoki seems surprised. Shizuki explains that he thought she wouldn't be into events like this. With a confused expression, she admits he's right, she doesn't like them. Then, smiling, she adds that this time might be fun since they'll be playing together. Shizuki is caught off guard. His face suddenly feels hot, and he quickly turns away, assuming it must just be a particularly warm day. They arrive at the gathering area, where the teacher stands in front of the students. She cheerfully announces that Class A's first match is against Class B. Hearing this, Shizuki tenses up, muttering that he can't handle it. Suddenly, Harino appears behind him, chiding him for giving up before the match even starts. He orders Shizuki to show some fighting spirit. Shizuki, stunned, asks why Harino is even here since he wasn't supposed to play. Grinning, Harino explains that he switched with someone who didn't want to participate. Then, proudly, he declares that his greatest mission is to personally protect Kusunoki. Shizuki wonders why Harino didn't just switch with him instead. Meanwhile, some guys overhear Harino's declaration and immediately protest, insisting that they also want to protect Kusunoki. Annoyed, they call out Harino for being too full of himself. Frustrated, Harino turns to Shizuki and warns him not to get the wrong idea. There's no way he's letting Shizuki beat him. Shizuki, still confused, asks if they aren't supposed to be teammates. As they argue, a group of girls nearby watches with irritation. One of them comments that the boys are being annoying. Another girl mutters that it's all because of Kusunoki and calls the boys in their class idiots. Someone else agrees, adding that Kusunoki is always at the center of these things and, from what she can tell, she's a man-eater. Kusunoki lowers her head in shame, deeply hurt. Shizuki notices and steps closer, concerned. He politely asks if something is wrong. Snapping out of it, Kusunoki gives herself a quick slap on the cheeks and assures him she's fine. The teams line up. Shizuki glances around nervously as the teacher announces the match between Class A and Class B. Harino is excited, but Shizuki is more worried about Hebikawa. He scans the opposing team but doesn't see her anywhere, neither with her team nor behind the lines. A sense of relief washes over him. Maybe she didn't come to school today. Thanking God silently, he feels genuinely happy that she hasn't shown up. Then, the teacher looks around, confused, and asks if someone is missing. Shizuki, feigning innocence, asks who isn't here. Before the teacher can answer, the sound of approaching footsteps echoes through the gym. Hebikawa walks in and Shizuki's relief vanishes instantly. Smiling, Hebikawa apologizes for the wait, explaining that it took her some time to change clothes, but hopes everything is fine now. Despite the delay, the teacher seems pleased by her dramatic entrance and reminds her to be more punctual next time. Then, she instructs everyone to line up. As Shizuki watches Hebikawa, sweat forms on his forehead. His anxiety spikes. Tsuji, also watching her, mutters that he couldn't ask for a better spectacle. Shizuki, filled with dread, mutters that this is the worst possible outcome. He forces himself to stay calm, thinking through his options. There's only one logical course of action, and he needs to act fast. The match begins. Players move quickly, the ball bouncing between them. Shizuki positions himself to catch it, ready to take control. Before he can react, Harino steps in front of him and grabs the ball. Grinning, he tells Shizuki that today is his moment to shine. Annoyed, Shizuki glares at him. Harino, completely unfazed, adds that he needs to impress Kusunoki with his skills. He throws the ball with confidence, only for it to slip from his hand. Instead of hitting his intended target, it flies straight toward Hebikawa. Both Harino and Shizuki freeze in shock. Just as the ball is about to hit her, another player dashes in and blocks it at the last second. With an air of arrogance, he declares that he's the one who will protect Hebikawa. Turning to her, he calmly assures her that he'll take care of anyone who tries to target her. Hebikawa smiles sweetly and thanks him. Fueled by rage, the player grabs the ball and hurls it straight at Harino. The impact sends him crashing to the ground. Shizuki watches in concern as Harino lies there motionless. Meanwhile, the opposing team grows more aggressive. Determined to win, they start hitting players relentlessly, even targeting the girls. Chaos erupts on the field. After some time, only 4 players remain, Shizuki and Kusunoki on one side, Hebikawa and the guy who saved her on the other. Shizuki scans the field, searching for an opening. The other players cheer loudly, hyped by how the match has boiled down to this final showdown. Frustrated, Shizuki thinks this is the final stretch and he's still stuck in it. He wonders what his next move should be. From the sidelines, Harino shouts at him to play hard and make sure Kusunoki doesn't get hurt. Shizuki knows they've made it this far, but they need to stay defensive until the very end. The thought of having to cover for Kusunoki as well makes him feel trapped. As he hesitates, Kusunoki suddenly steps forward, standing fearlessly in front of the opposing player. Shizuki, startled, tells her not to stand there, worried about her safety. He warns that it's too dangerous to be so close to someone like that. The opposing player smirks, saying he won't go easy just because she's a girl. Without hesitation, he throws the ball at full force. Seeing it coming, Shizuki reacts instinctively. He rushes forward and jumps in front of Kusunoki, taking the hit himself. The impact sends him crashing to the ground. Kusunoki stares in shock at his sudden act of bravery. Lying on the floor, Shizuki groans in pain, regretting that he couldn't catch the ball. He wonders what kind of person throws such a hard shot at a girl. If he hadn't intervened, Kusunoki would have taken the full impact. The thought lingers as he remembers his earlier frustration with her. Kusunoki quickly kneels beside him, her expression filled with concern. She gently asks if he's okay and apologizes. Noticing a scratch on his arm, she gasps and insists that he needs to go to the nurse's office immediately. Shizuki brushes it off, saying he's fine, but warns her to stay away from that aggressive player. He advises her to play more defensively for her own safety. Kusunoki doesn't listen. Instead, she grabs the ball, determination burning in her eyes. She declares that she's going to avenge Shizuki. Shizuki is stunned by her sudden resolve. With a surge of anger, Kusunoki launches the ball straight at the guy who injured Shizuki. The impact is brutal. He collapses on the spot, completely knocked out. The entire field goes silent. The other players watch in disbelief, exclaiming that what just happened is impossible. Hebikawa watches the fallen player in silence. The teacher announces that Kusunoki's performance was incredible, having taken out 2 players on her own, and declares Class A the winners. Kusunoki turns to Shizuki with a sweet smile. Shizuki, caught off guard, bows his head and mutters that things turned out better than expected. He wonders if Kusunoki was always this formidable. Nearby, the other girls check on Hebikawa, asking if she's all right after Kusunoki's hit. One girl comments that Kusunoki is a real wild card. Another girl laughs and asks Hebikawa if her arm is broken. Hebikawa glares at her and angrily demands to know why she's laughing. The girl quickly apologizes. Later, as Shizuki and his friends walk together, Tsuji remarks that he never expected them to win the match. Harino, in high spirits, praises Kusunoki, saying he never imagined she would be so impressive. Shizuki, feeling off, watches them quietly. Harino suddenly remembers that he forgot to greet Kusunoki and plans to go over. Tsuji suggests he drop it, pointing out that something unusual is happening. When Shizuki turns to look, he is taken aback by the crowd of guys surrounding Kusunoki, all eager to praise her bravery. Shizuki, surprised by her sudden popularity, considers stepping in to help her out. Watching the scene, Harino comments on how quickly she has become admired. Tsuji agrees, comparing Kusunoki to the main character of a story while they feel like minor players from a different world. Nudging Harino, Tsuji suggests they leave before they end up bothering her. As they head out, Shizuki lingers for a moment, still concerned about Kusunoki. Lowering his gaze, he follows his friends outside, thinking about Tsuji's words. As Shizuki stands lost in thought, Kusunoki suddenly approaches and asks if she has done something to upset him. Startled, he steps back and tells her she scared him, asking for a moment to catch his breath. Kusunoki notes that their eyes had met earlier and that he seemed to be avoiding her. Shizuki reassures her, explaining that he only stepped outside to give her space, not to avoid her. Kusunoki moves closer and gently tells him that he is never a bother to her. Shizuki is caught off guard by her words. Seeing the tears forming in her eyes, he watches as she admits that she actually wanted him to reach out. She explains that being surrounded by so many people felt overwhelming, and she thought she might faint. Shizuki takes in her expression and understands what she means. Suddenly, Kusunoki lowers her head and lets out a small cry. Concerned, Shizuki asks what's wrong. She looks up with a soft smile and says she feels relieved now that they've had a chance to talk. Shizuki, feeling a wave of relief himself, tells her he's also glad they could share this moment. A faint noise catches his attention. Kusunoki curiously asks if he said something. Shizuki shakes his head and tells her to ignore it. Smiling, he turns away and reminds her to go change her clothes, saying they'll meet again. Kusunoki, puzzled by his comment, walks away but finds herself dwelling on it. If he tells her to ignore something, it will only stay in her mind longer. As she mulls over his words, Hebikawa suddenly appears from another room. Kusunoki is surprised and recognizes her as the girl from Class B. Hebikawa introduces herself, and Kusunoki, having noticed her during the game, finds her even more striking up close. Her gaze falls on Hebikawa's bandaged arm. Concerned, Kusunoki asks if she was injured. Hebikawa confirms that her arm swelled up after the match and smiles, commenting that Kusunoki is stronger than she looks. Kusunoki, feeling guilty, jokingly offers to let Hebikawa boil or fry her as compensation. Hebikawa laughs and reassures her that it's nothing serious, saying the pain is already gone. Stepping closer, Hebikawa tells Kusunoki that she finds her truly interesting and admits that she has been thinking about her for some time. Kusunoki, caught off guard, stares at her in surprise. Hebikawa then politely asks if they could be friends, leaving Kusunoki stunned by the unexpected request. Kusunoki gives a confused smile and asks if Hebikawa really means they're going to be friends. Hebikawa confirms with a warm smile, saying she's happy to befriend such a cute girl. Kusunoki, feeling nervous about the sudden bond, hesitates but ultimately agrees, asking Hebikawa to take care of her. Hebikawa then requests to be called Rarisa instead, explaining that she dislikes her last name. Kusunoki agrees and suggests she call her Shizuka in return. They exchange smiles and begin walking together, pleased with their newfound friendship. Suddenly, Kusunoki pauses, deep in thought. Realizing she needs to tell Shizuki, she politely asks Hebikawa if they can put their friendship on hold for now. Later that night, Kusunoki calls Shizuki and tells him everything. Shizuki, taken aback, asks if she really made a new friend. Kusunoki confirms, explaining that after the match, they approached her and requested to be friends. Shizuki is initially shocked but then considers Kusunoki's impressive performance in the dodgeball tournament, realizing that perhaps her actions left a strong impression on the girls. Understanding the situation, he congratulates her, saying it's great news. However, Kusunoki informs him that their friendship is still on hold. Curious, Shizuki asks why. She explains that if she doesn't put it on hold, she might have to end her friendship with him. Shizuki suddenly recalls his own words, how he once mentioned that their bond was temporary and would end if she made new friends. He realizes he had completely forgotten about that. Kusunoki admits that it might be selfish on her part, but gently adds that she wants to spend more time with him. Confused, Shizuki asks why she's saying this. She clarifies that it's because she likes him. Shizuki is stunned by her confession. She reassures him that she's being honest and explains that he is the first friend she has ever made. Shizuki sits back in his chair, puzzled over whether Kusunoki means it as just friendship or something more. He wonders why she always makes such ambiguous statements. Kusunoki quickly adds that if her feelings are troubling him, she will step back. Shizuki reassures her that it doesn't bother him at all. The moment Kusunoki hears his response, she suddenly shouts into the phone in excitement. Shizuki is taken aback and tells her to stop shouting. Smiling, she apologizes for her outburst and expresses her happiness at the prospect of continuing their friendship. Meanwhile, Shizuki reflects that he might have been expecting too much. Considering it's Kusunoki, he should have known better. Even if she makes a new female friend, she still manages to say things like this. Still, he feels it's a bit unfair to him. Feeling relieved and happy, Kusunoki excitedly mentions that now she can share this news with Rarisa. Shizuki, curious, asks about the friend she made. Kusunoki happily tells him that her new friend is Rarisa Hebikawa from Class B and adds that she'll introduce them when the time comes. The moment Shizuki hears that name, he is shocked and shouts into the phone. Kusunoki, taken aback by his reaction, asks him not to shout like that. The next day at school, Shizuki sits in complete silence at a table. Suji glances over and asks what's wrong, noting that it looks like Shizuki's soul is leaving his body. Harino comments that he doesn't know what happened, but Shizuki has been like this since morning. Meanwhile, Shizuki is deep in thought. Kusunoki didn't initiate the friendship, Hebikawa did. He wonders why she did it and worries that their personalities might not mesh well. If things go wrong, Kusunoki might end up being bullied. As he ponders this, Harino suddenly looks out the window, eyes widening in shock. He loudly calls for Suji to look outside, saying it's insane. He points out that Kusunoki and Hebikawa are standing together, chatting. Suji looks over and notes that they seem pretty close, adding that it's the first time he's seen Kusunoki hanging out with other girls. Harino grins, saying that the most beautiful and academically gifted students are bound to become friends. Hearing this, Shizuki immediately shouts back, insisting that they are not the same. Harino is taken aback by his reaction. After Shizuki storms off, Harino turns to Suji and asks what's going on. Suji admits he has no idea. Later, Shizuki and Kusunoki are in a school hallway, cleaning the floor. Kusunoki casually informs Shizuki that she plans to hang out with Hebikawa. Shizuki is stunned and asks if she's really going out with her. Kusunoki replies that they're planning to meet this Sunday. Shizuki wonders if they've already grown that close or if he's misjudging the situation. Then, a thought occurs to him. He asks if Kusunoki has mentioned their middle school to Hebikawa yet. Kusunoki responds that she hasn't. Shizuki feels a sense of relief, realizing that if it becomes known that he and Kusunoki went to the same middle school, not only could Kusunoki face trouble, but his own position might also be at risk. As they talk, Shizuki notices some girls chatting upstairs. He calls Kusunoki over to a corner under the stairs. Kusunoki agrees and follows him to a secluded spot where they can talk privately. Shizuki gently advises her not to mention their middle school to Hebikawa, revealing that Hebikawa also attended the same middle school. Kusunoki looks surprised by this. Shizuki explains that Hebikawa's name back then was Takagaki. When he asks if she remembers Hebikawa from middle school, Kusunoki shakes her head, saying she didn't interact much with anyone back then. Shizuki warns that if Hebikawa finds out about their shared middle school, it could cause significant trouble. He advises Kusunoki to avoid discussing anything related to it and, if Hebikawa brings it up, to change the subject. Kusunoki fully understands and happily agrees to follow his advice. As Shizuki starts to move away, Kusunoki calls him back and politely asks if she can still contact him later that evening, even though it's not a practice day. She mentions that she has something to ask him. Shizuki wonders why she can't ask now, but Kusunoki says she can't say it at the moment. Instead, she wants to show him something. Shizuki is stunned by her words. Kusunoki explains that she will send him a picture when she gets home, adding that since it's a bit embarrassing, he should make sure to look at it when he's alone. Shizuki immediately assumes it's something intimate or compromising, making him extremely flustered. As he finishes cleaning, grabs his bag, and even while riding the train home, he keeps wondering what she wants to show him. Since she specifically told him not to open it in front of others, the request feels suspicious and mysterious, sparking his curiosity. That night at home, Shizuki tries to brush it off, telling himself it's not a big deal. But no matter how much he tries to ignore it, he can't help feeling anxious about what the picture might be. Just waiting for it keeps him on edge. He tries to distract himself by getting ready for a bath, but before he can leave, his phone buzzes. He rushes to check it. It's a message from Kusunoki. As he hesitates over the mysterious photo, he finally opens the message. What he sees stuns him. It's a picture of Kusunoki standing in front of a mirror. Confused, he reads her message, where she explains that it's the outfit she picked for her outing with Rarisa. She asks if she looks strange. Shizuki stares at the image, processing the situation. Of course, it's strange. He wonders what the hell she was thinking. Kusunoki's outfit had a strange, almost prisoner-like look with all those stripes. Shizuki wonders what the point of the beret on her head is, questioning if she's playing some kind of joke on him. Just then, another message from Kusunoki arrives. She explains that she added the beret as a key piece to complete the look, convinced that it makes for a great style. That's when Shizuki realizes she isn't joking. Trying to be polite, he asks if she has any other outfits so he can compare and make a clearer decision. Kusunoki responds that she has others and asks him to wait while she sends more photos. Moments later, after looking through them, Shizuki comes to a harsh realization. Kusunoki has absolutely no sense of fashion. It's an awkward situation. If she dresses like this when meeting Hebikawa, she'll end up being mocked. He checks the date and realizes Sunday is just 2 days away. There isn't much time. He wonders what he should do. Then his expression turns serious as he makes a decision. Shortly after, Kusunoki gets a call. Excited, she answers and immediately asks which style he liked best. Before she can finish, Shizuki cuts in and asks if she's free after school tomorrow. She questions the sudden invitation, and Shizuki tells her they are going shopping together. The unexpected proposal leaves Kusunoki stunned. The next day, after class, Harino invites Suji to grab something to eat before heading home. He also tries to invite Shizuki, but he realizes that Shizuki has already left. Meanwhile, Kusunoki walks through a shopping district filled with trendy clothing stores, her excitement evident. Shizuki walks beside her, wondering why he even agreed to this. But at this point, it's too late to back out. From an outsider's perspective, they might look like a couple. A thought that briefly crosses his mind before Kusunoki's voice snaps him back to reality. Kusunoki comments that they really look like good friends, adding that friends usually go out together after school and even shop for clothes. She then asks if he wants to grab something to eat afterward. Shizuki, feeling embarrassed, tells her to stop. Calling himself an idiot, he reminds himself that Kusunoki is just a friend. Nothing more, nothing less. At the store, Kusunoki excitedly shows him several pieces with animal prints, seemingly trying to create a matching outfit. He immediately rejects the idea. Even after seeing the picture before, he still can't believe her taste in fashion. But as he watches her insist on following a single pattern, he starts to understand her peculiar sense of style. After thinking it over, he decides to share some fashion advice. He explains that fashion has an ideal that can be hard to achieve. When Kusunoki asks how he chooses his outfits, he says the solution is simply to just look at the mannequins. He suggests that if she buys exactly what a mannequin is wearing, even if it's a bit pricey, she can dress stylishly without needing prior fashion knowledge. Hearing this, Kusunoki gets excited and calls him a genius. However, some of the other girls in the store give him strange looks after his suggestion. He then asks if she brought enough money, to which she confidently replies saying she got all the cash she could find. Pointing at a mannequin, he asks what she thinks of its outfit, saying it's fresh and perfect for the current season. Kusunoki comments that it looks a bit mature for her taste. Just then, a store employee approaches and asks if they need help with anything. At that moment, Shizuki suddenly feels dizzy, realizing the symptoms of his condition are kicking in. He silently regrets lowering his guard, even though encountering beautiful women in a clothing store is completely normal. After composing himself, he tells Kusunoki that he'll wait for her outside. Realizing that both the store employee and Kusunoki have disappeared, Shizuki looks around and suddenly hears a girl's excited voice. Turning toward the sound, he sees the employee happily celebrating how well the dress suits Kusunoki. Kusunoki notices Shizuki watching her and walks over to ask what he thinks. Without thinking, he blurts out that she looks cute. A brief silence follows as both process his words. Realizing what he just said, he quickly tries to clarify that he was talking about the dress. After a short moment of surprise, Kusunoki thanks him for the compliment and decides to buy the dress, asking for a moment to change. He agrees, left dwelling on how embarrassing and awkward the moment was, wishing he could disappear on the spot. Meanwhile, in the dressing room, Kusunoki clutches her chest, her heartbeat racing as her face turns red. After leaving the store, she thanks Shizuki for accompanying her and promises to return the favor. He assures her that she's exaggerating. As she waves goodbye and starts walking away, he suddenly calls out to her, telling her to do her best tomorrow. Surprised, she smiles brightly and responds with a confident yes. Watching her go, he finds himself wondering why his heart is beating so fast. The next day, Kusunoki takes a deep breath, mentally preparing herself. Nervous, she goes over everything in her head. Just then, Hebikawa arrives, apologizing for being late. To Kusunoki's surprise, she isn't alone. Two other girls are with her. Stammering slightly, Kusunoki asks who they are. Hebikawa explains that they are classmates who decided to join after hearing about the outing. She adds that they are her best friends and hopes that everyone can get along. Unsure how to respond, Kusunoki freezes from nervousness. Sensing her hesitation, one of the girls asks if she minds. Kusunoki, feeling even more anxious, tries to steady herself. Kusunoki knows she can't let the increasing number of people scare her, and she doesn't want Hebikawa to worry about her. Gathering her courage, she responds nervously that she doesn't mind. Bowing her head, she introduces herself. Hebikawa's friends introduce themselves as Tada and Reika. Tada immediately approaches Kusunoki, telling her there's no need to be so formal. She playfully pushes Kusunoki forward, urging her to come along for a meal. As they walk, Hebikawa glances at Kusunoki, noting that she's wearing a stylish dress. It's no surprise, considering she's the most beautiful girl in Class A. However, Hebikawa wonders why Kusunoki is so isolated from the rest of the class. Earlier, Tada had mentioned a beautiful girl in Class A who never socialized with anyone. She had been dying of curiosity to meet her, which is why she insisted that Hebikawa bring her along. Hebikawa agreed and also brought Reika with them. Watching Kusunoki now, Hebikawa thinks that she's full of mystery, but today, she's determined to uncover some of those secrets. At the fast food restaurant, the girls stare in surprise at the huge amount of food in front of Kusunoki. Tada comments that it's incredible she can eat so much and that it's the first time she's seen someone order such a massive meal. Kusunoki realizes she has made a huge mistake. She accepted everything that was offered to her and now has an overwhelming amount of food in front of her. Hebikawa steps in to defend her, telling Tada to stop teasing since eating a lot is a good thing. After that, Hebikawa asks Kusunoki if her house is far from school. Kusunoki replies that it is and that she has to take a train to get there. Hebikawa says it's the same for her. Then, she asks Kusunoki which secondary school she attended and if it was close to her home. Kusunoki answers that she went to a school near her house. But then, she remembers what Shizuki told her about keeping that information a secret. Trying to cover for herself, she adds that she only thinks it was close by and claims that the school had a strange name, so she can't remember it properly. She says this while visibly nervous and stammering. Reika gives her a confused look, and Tada comments that she's speaking a little weirdly. Meanwhile, Hebikawa simply nods with a smile, saying that some school names can be hard to remember. Kusunoki celebrates silently, relieved that she tricked them so perfectly. But Hebikawa watches her closely out of the corner of her eye. Later, at the movie theater, Tada can't hide her excitement, prompting Reika to tell her to calm down since the movie hasn't started yet. Tada insists that she's been waiting a long time to watch it. Ignoring her, Reika remarks that Kusunoki really does eat a lot, noticing that she's carrying a giant bucket of popcorn. At that moment, Kusunoki realizes she made a mistake. Ordering popcorn at the movies is normal, but she got way too much. Tada asks if she can even finish it all. Kusunoki says yes and promises to do her best as she can. That last comment leaves Tada and Reika confused. Hebikawa then asks Kusunoki what kind of movies she likes. Excited, Kusunoki is about to answer but suddenly remembers what Shizuki told her. Anime is looked down upon, so she shouldn't mention it. Lowering her voice, she says she likes romance movies, among others. This excites Tada, who says she also loves romance films and asks if Kusunoki has seen Love Mira. Kusunoki nods, though she's obviously lying. Tada happily comments that Love Mira was really fun and asks if she also thought Akina's acting was. Now nervous, Kusunoki struggles to keep up with the lie. When she hears Akina's name, she assumes it belongs to an actress and casually says Akina seems adorable. Tada is stunned, and Reika asks if she really finds Akina, the male actor who played the father in the movie, cute. That's when Kusunoki realizes her mistake. Tada innocently remarks that she has an interesting way of seeing things, while Hebikawa watches in silence, growing slightly suspicious. The movie ends, and the girls step out of the theater, unsure of what to do next. Suddenly, Kusunoki apologizes, saying she needs to use the bathroom before walking off. As soon as she's gone, Tada remarks that Kusunoki is a bit strange and not what she expected. Hebikawa agrees, noting that Kusunoki's stories just don't add up. Reika agrees, adding that it even felt strange they were talking about Akina. Hebikawa thinks it's a shame. Kusunoki is a very pretty girl, but her communication skills are awkward and dull. Being pretty alone would make her popular with boys since she would only need to passively accept their attention. But with girls, it's different. Being pretty often leads to gossip and isolation. In the world of girls, Kusunoki won't get by just on looks.
A moment later, Kusunoki arrives, apologizing for making them wait. Tada tells her she took too long and that she got tired of waiting. Feeling bad, Kusunoki sincerely apologizes for wasting her time, but Tada laughs, saying it was just a joke and not taking it so seriously. The girls start walking and chatting, leaving Kusunoki behind, excluded from the conversation. At a street corner, Reika announces that they'll be parting ways. Ririsa apologizes to Kusunoki, admitting that they got caught up in their own excitement. With that, she says goodbye and walks off with her friends, leaving Kusunoki standing there with her head down. Suddenly, Kusunoki stops Ririsa and asks for a moment to talk. Ririsa's friends comment that it looks like they still have things to discuss and decide to leave first. As Ririsa watches them go, she wonders what's going on and if Kusunoki is about to complain and show her true nature. Her thoughts are cut short when Kusunoki suddenly apologizes, catching her off guard. Kusunoki says she's sorry because, despite Ririsa bringing her friends along, she couldn't communicate properly and ruined the day. But even so, she wanted to say that she was truly happy to be invited. Ririsa is left speechless, unable to believe what she just heard. Kusunoki had just said she had fun, despite Ririsa blatantly excluding her to spend time with her friends. Ririsa wonders if Kusunoki is being sarcastic, but Kusunoki continues, saying she wants to keep getting along with her since she is the first girl she has ever befriended. Ririsa is left speechless, realizing that Kusunoki is completely serious. Kusunoki says that's all she wanted to say and apologizes for taking up her time before walking away. As Kusunoki leaves, Ririsa thinks about how strange it is that she apologized, even though she was the one who invited her and then excluded her. It doesn't make sense. Kusunoki didn't even get upset, and she still wants to be friends. Kusunoki has a cute face, but there's something different about her. She seems genuinely innocent and pure. Ririsa scowls at the thought, unwilling to believe that someone like that could truly exist. Later that night, Shizuki sends Kusunoki a message asking how the outing went. She enthusiastically replies that everything went perfectly, and she had a great time. Reading this, he feels relieved and genuinely happy, realizing he spent the whole day worrying about it without being able to relax. He congratulates her on the successful outing and decides to get all the details from her the next day. The next day, Kusunoki tells him what happened. She mentions that Ririsa brought 2 of her friends, making it a group of 4. Shizuki realizes that he now has to compete not only with Ririsa but also with other contenders for Kusunoki's friendship. However, he continues questioning her, asking where they went. Kusunoki replies that they went to the movies. As they talk, Kusunoki replays the events in her mind, remembering how she felt excluded by the other girls. Tears well up in her eyes. Alarmed, Shizuki asks what's wrong, but Kusunoki hides her face and insists it's nothing. The scene draws the attention of the other students, who begin whispering among themselves. To avoid further attention, Shizuki decides to take Kusunoki outside for a private conversation. She explains that she struggled to talk with Ririsa's friends and couldn't fit in. Shizuki asks what she means by that, and Kusunoki details her experience. She couldn't follow the conversations, took jokes too seriously, and ended up feeling left out. She then apologizes to Shizuki, saying that despite his help, she wasn't able to do anything. Shizuki stands up and tells her there's no need to apologize. Of course, she wasn't going to succeed right away. It's like a low-level character trying to fight the final boss. Winning on the first try is impossible. He encourages her not to give up, saying there's nothing to be embarrassed about. They can keep practicing until she improves and can hold a normal conversation. Besides, she already did well. His words lift Kusunoki's spirits. She smiles and asks when their next training session will be. Seeing her recover, Shizuki feels relieved. They return to class, and Kusunoki asks if her eyes are red. Shizuki confirms, saying she cried a lot. Just then, they are surprised to see Rarisa standing at the classroom entrance. Kusunoki is taken aback. Rarisa approaches and says she wants to apologize face to face. After giving Kusunoki a strange look, she takes her hands and sincerely apologizes for what happened yesterday. Bringing her friends along was selfish, and she realizes it was insensitive. Even if it was just a casual outing, she should have considered Kusunoki's feelings. She also says that Kusunoki's words at the end of the night made her really happy. Then, she asks if Kusunoki can forgive her. Shizuki watches, shocked by the situation. Kusunoki innocently replies that she should forgive her since it was all her fault. Smiling, Rarisa suddenly hugs Kusunoki, saying she loves her. Then, she adds that next time if they are going out, she should introduce her friend, referring to Shizuki. Rarisa suggests the three of them go out together and asks if that would be a problem for Kusunoki. Kusunoki replies that it wouldn't, assuring her that Shizuki is a kind person and that she would be happy to introduce them. She then asks Shizuki if he is okay with the idea but is surprised to see him lowering his head. Shizuki feels overwhelmed. Going out with both of them is impossible for him since Rarisa is the source of his trauma. With that in mind, he refuses, saying the introduction will have to wait. Kusunoki, unaware of the situation, asks if something about it bothers him, leaving Shizuki struggling to explain. Rarisa then steps closer, saying it's fine if he doesn't want to, but she simply wanted to learn more about Shizuki and thought they could all be friends. With a soft expression and slightly blushing, she asks if it was wrong to wish for that. Instead of feeling drawn to her, Shizuki feels fear and disgust, instinctively stepping back. Seeing this, Kusunoki repeats her question, leaving him with no way to refuse. Later, he explains why he couldn't go home with his friends. Harino feels jealous, realizing that Kusunoki alone wasn't enough, now Rarisa was involved too. Frustrated, he jokes that Shizuki must be the protagonist of a romantic comedy, and says he wants to switch places with him. Hearing this, Shizuki grabs him by the shoulders with a disturbed expression, begging him to take his place instead. Panic fills him, this wasn't how things were supposed to go. His high school life was meant to be peaceful, but he can't understand why this is happening to him. Seeing his pale face, Harino and Tsuji assume he is dealing with his own problems. Then, with a serious voice, Shizuki announces that he is ready to switch places with Harino. But at that exact moment, Kusunoki appears with Rarisa, asking if he is ready to leave with them. A wave of discomfort crashes over Shizuki. Seconds later, everyone watches the scene unfold, and the other boys can't help but feel jealous. A teacher watches the scene, commenting that this is typical of youth. He cannot deny that Shizuki has flowers in both hands, but the only one not happy about the situation is Shizuki, who cannot shake off his discomfort and keeps wondering why he is in the middle of both of them. Shizuki asks Kusunoki about it, and she tells him it is because he is the main character of this meeting. Meanwhile, Shizuki feels an increasing unease in his stomach, repeating to himself that he should not think about Rarisa. Unable to hold on any longer, he looks at Kusunoki and tells her to handle everything, asking her to start the introductions. Excited, Kusunoki introduces Shizuki, who politely says it is a pleasure. Rarisa gives him a curious look before introducing herself in response. Kusunoki, unsure how to continue the conversation, hesitates, so Rarisa takes the lead again. She turns to Shizuki and asks how he became friends with Kusunoki. Shizuki explains that they became friends simply because they sit next to each other, which is natural. Not entirely convinced, Rarisa asks if that is the only reason, and he confirms. She then asks Kusunoki if she gets along well with Shizuki. Smiling, Kusunoki says yes because talking to him is fun. Rarisa, observing Kusunoki's expression, smiles before placing her hand over Shizuki's. Leaning closer, she tells him she also wants to get along with him. Instead of being alarmed, Kusunoki becomes even more excited, announcing that the three of them can be friends. She adds that Shizuki is different from her and is good at conversations. Shizuki, however, senses nothing but danger in the situation. Rarisa glances at him, commenting that he has been quiet for a while and questioning if he is actually good at conversations. Then, raising her hand, she takes hold of his face, making him look directly at her. Feeling the tension, Shizuki starts getting dizzier and trembling. Rarisa notices his distress, but before anyone can react, he cannot hold it in any longer and vomits, the contents landing directly on Rarisa. Both Kusunoki and Rarisa are stunned. Later, in the infirmary, the nurse asks Shizuki if he is feeling better and if the nausea has stopped. He answers that he feels better, though still slightly unwell. The nurse points out that he caused a huge mess and suggests he apologize later to the person he vomited on. She also informs him that she has to leave for the faculty office. But before going, she mentions that a girl from his class took care of cleaning up his mess, so he should apologize to her as well. This makes Shizuki feel awful, not just for the chaos he caused but also for dragging Kusunoki into it. He never imagined he would end up vomiting just because Rarisa touched him. Curling up under the sheets, he wonders if he will stay like this forever and whether he will ever recover. Just then, he hears footsteps entering the infirmary. He wonders who it is and opens his eyes, only to see Rarisa standing there. Immediately, the nausea returns. Oblivious to his reaction, she asks how he is feeling, and he replies that he is doing better. He then asks about her clothes, and she explains that her shirt got dirty, so she changed into this jacket. Shizuki quickly apologizes and offers to pay for the laundry. Rarisa watches him in silence for a moment before sitting on the bed. She then asks if he has a weak immune system, noting that he always looks pale and seems unwell whenever she sees him. Desperate to escape the conversation, Shizuki insists that he does have poor health, just as she suspects. However, Rarisa stares at him for a moment before calmly stating that he is lying. She points out that when he is with Kusunoki and the others in class, he always seems perfectly fine. Then she asks if his problem has something to do with her. Losing his composure, Shizuki tries to get up from the bed, announcing that he is going home. But before he can move, Rarisa suddenly throws herself onto him, blocking his escape. With a serious expression, she tells him that he cannot run away. He cannot escape from her. Then, with a smile, she asks again if he is hiding something and if he will confess. Shizuki averts his gaze, insisting that he is not hiding anything, but Rarisa refuses to believe him, accusing him of lying. He denies it again, but she presses further, asking why he feels sick every time he sees her. Trapped by her relentless questioning, he struggles to find an escape. The pressure makes him feel unwell again, and as he tries to look away, Rarisa studies him closely before pouting. Suddenly, she grabs his head and forces him to face her, warning that he cannot avoid her attention. Just then, the infirmary's sliding door opens, and Kusunoki steps inside. She freezes at the sight of Rarisa leaning over Shizuki. Stammering, she asks what they are doing. Rarisa quickly stands up from the bed, casually explaining that she simply tripped and fell, insisting it was an accident. Then, turning to Kusunoki, she says she will be leaving, adding that in hindsight, it would be better to get to know each other some other time. After saying goodbye to Kusunoki, she walks out of the room, giving Shizuki a parting smile and assuring him they will meet again. Once Rarisa is gone, Shizuki collapses onto the bed, relieved. Noticing Kusunoki holding his bag, he thanks her for the kindness and apologizes for making her clean up after his mess. She reassures him that there is no need to apologize and instead urges him to take better care of his health, admitting that she had not realized how unwell he was. Apologizing again for making him stay with her earlier, she seems on the verge of asking about the incident. Shizuki waits for her question, but after pressing her lips together in hesitation, she dismisses it as unimportant. Instead, she asks if he plans to head home. Shizuki confirms and suggests they leave together, which instantly lifts her mood. She asks him to wait while she grabs her own bag. As she steps out, Shizuki leans back, reflecting on the dangerous encounter that just happened. For a moment, he thought Rarisa had figured everything out, but she had not. Still, he cannot ignore her increasing attempts to get closer to Kusunoki or the strange interest she seems to have in him. With these thoughts swirling in his mind, he continues pondering what Rarisa might be thinking as the next day approaches. Shizuki keeps reflecting on these thoughts until the teacher pulls him out of it, pointing out that he is too distracted. The teacher then warns the class to pay attention since exams are approaching, and those who do not focus will fall behind. Hearing this, Shizuki decides to stop worrying about everything else and focus on his top priority, the midterm exams. Later, the teacher hands out the results of the mock exams. Seeing his score, Shizuki feels relieved. Even though it was just a practice test, he scored a 90, a sign that he is on the right track. However, not everyone shares his satisfaction. Looking at his classmate, he notices her troubled expression. He approaches Kusunoki, who greets him timidly and asks if they can talk later. When they get the chance, Kusunoki shows him her exam with a discouraged look. She only scored 30 points. She explains that complicated math problems make her nervous and confused. If things continue this way, she is at risk of failing the year. That is why she asks if he can help her with math. Shizuki wants to refuse but feels indebted to Kusunoki for helping him deal with the disaster he caused earlier. With this lingering sense of obligation, he agrees to her request. With her usual cheerful smile, Kusunoki suggests that since she was the one asking for help, they should study at her house. Before leaving for her next class, she expresses her excitement about their upcoming study session. Everything happens so quickly that Shizuki does not even have time to reconsider. Later, he finds himself standing at Kusunoki's doorstep. He had tried to refuse after she proposed the idea at school, but every time he brought it up, Kusunoki would put on a sad expression, making him feel guilty and unable to say no. Shizuki reminds himself that since they are friends, he does not need to be so on guard. With this thought in mind, he presses the doorbell. A loud noise comes from inside the house, and a moment later, Kusunoki opens the door with a smile, welcoming him. She apologizes for making him come all the way to her house on his own, explaining that it took her a while to organize everything. As she speaks, Shizuki cannot help but notice her outfit, which looks like she put in extra effort to impress. Unable to hold back, he asks about her clothes. Nervously, she explains that she got excited about the study session and ended up picking an outfit straight off a mannequin, just as he once taught her. She then apologizes, realizing too late that the pants are torn. Shizuki, trying to reassure her, says it is normal and just part of fashion. However, deep down, he cannot ignore how revealing the outfit is. He tries to stay calm and asks if he can come in. Kusunoki apologizes, saying that there is no need for formalities since they have the house to themselves. This surprises Shizuki, making an already awkward situation even more uncomfortable. Nervously, he asks about her parents, and Kusunoki tells him they are at work, so they have the house to themselves. Stepping inside, Shizuki is caught off guard by the sight of balloons and a large welcome sign with his name. Confused, he asks about the decorations. Beaming with pride, Kusunoki happily explains that this is the first time she has invited a friend over, so she wanted to do something special. Shizuki wonders if she really went through all this effort for him, and whether she thinks a study session is worth celebrating. But he cannot deny her excitement. Kusunoki asks if they can play something after studying. Aware of her high expectations, Shizuki agrees as long as they have time after finishing their work. Encouraged, Kusunoki promises to focus on studying. She tells him to get comfortable while she prepares some tea. Watching her move around the kitchen, Shizuki reflects on how she clearly cares about him. Her actions show that she sees him as a friend, something he tells himself is normal. A moment later, they start their study session. Surprisingly, Kusunoki picks up the material quickly, making it easy for Shizuki to teach her the equations. He compliments her, and she happily declares that she will aim for the highest score. Shizuki says that as they had finished early, so as promised, he told Kusunoki they could take some time to play. Kusunoki brightened at the suggestion but then hesitated, her expression turning serious. Apologizing in advance in case she was mistaken, she admitted she was curious about something. Shizuki, intrigued, asked what it was. She asked if he disliked being near Rarisa, adding that she had been thinking about it ever since the day he vomited. Shizuki is caught off guard, unable to answer so easily. Explaining that he's traumatized because Rarisa spoke badly about him behind his back, or that she was his first love in middle school, feels impossible. There's too much to unpack and putting it into words is overwhelming. He's afraid that being honest might cost him his friends or make him a target for ridicule. Even though he knows Kusunoki is different, more understanding than most, he still hesitates. He tells her it's complicated and that he can't explain. It's not that he thinks she'll laugh at him or push him away, but the thought of opening up still terrifies him. Kusunoki apologizes, admitting she's not good at handling sensitive topics and often fails to read the atmosphere. She promises not to insist on Shizuki and Rarisa getting along. Shizuki asks if she's really okay with that, and if she doesn't want an explanation. She replies that it's not necessary, just hearing him say that is enough for her. Moved by her sincerity and understanding, Shizuki feels encouraged. He tells her that maybe he won't explain today, but someday, he'll tell her everything. With that, she drops the subject and announces that she's going to get a game for them to play together. As she tries to stand, she trips and falls onto Shizuki. Worried, he asks if she's okay, but when he looks at her, he notices she's gripping his shirt tightly and staring directly into his eyes. She remains on top of him, her face slightly flushed. Then, she calls his name, not for anything dramatic, but simply to tell him that her legs have fallen asleep and she can't stand up. She explains that she's been sitting awkwardly for a while. Shizuki, still concerned, tells her she needs to move a little, but when she tries, she finds she can't. That's when she informs him that she's been holding it in for a while, and following her instructions, he takes her to the bathroom, thinking the day feels somewhat strange. Later, as they stand by the door, Kusunoki thanks him for everything he's done that day and for his help. She also apologizes for causing him so much trouble. Shizuki tells her not to worry about it, though inwardly, he thinks it's been an extremely exhausting day for him. After this thought, he advises Kusunoki not to stress so much and to focus on her studies instead. She eagerly accepts the suggestion. Then, she mentions that they'll play again another time, though for Shizuki, the idea is far from appealing, considering how he kept losing in their previous game. Kusunoki then asks if he really doesn't want her to walk him home. He declines, saying it's getting late and he'd rather go alone. At that moment, Kusunoki tells him he can visit her anytime he wants, and that she'll look forward to his next visit. This request makes Shizuki blush. The next day at school, Shizuki can't stop thinking about it. What's on his mind is that he must never, under any circumstances, visit her house again. He feels that when he's alone with Kusunoki, something inside him could break at any moment. He knows that moment during the fall was dangerous. Lost in his thoughts, Shizuki is brought back to reality when the teacher approaches, asking where Kusunoki is. Looking over at her seat, he realizes she's not there. Since the teacher needs to give her something, Shizuki leaves to go find her. Meanwhile, Kusunoki is outside in the schoolyard, standing with Rarisa. Everyone around watches as the two beauties speak. Rarisa asks Kusunoki what's going on, why she called her, and what she wants to say. Kusunoki explains that it's about Shizuki and that they can treat the topic of their introduction as if nothing ever happened, getting to know each other properly. Intrigued, Rarisa asks what she means by that, and why she has to do it. However, Kusunoki tells her she can't give her a reason. Although it's unfortunate, Rarisa knows it's not right to force people or interfere in personal matters. She asks Kusunoki if they can still be friends, and Kusunoki agrees. After that, Rarisa asks if Kusunoki can accompany her to buy something, and Kusunoki accepts. The two walk together to get a drink. As they walk, Rarisa smiles, Thinking that it doesn't matter and Kusunoki doesn't really have to introduce Shizuki to her, she knows she can just get closer to him herself. Meanwhile, Shizuki searches everywhere for Kusunoki, wondering where she is and what she's doing. While distracted, a ball suddenly hits him. A tanned, short boy apologizes and asks if he's okay. Shizuki gets up and says it's fine before asking if the boy is in elementary school. Though he wonders why an elementary schooler is in this high school, the boy, visibly irritated, snaps that he's obviously a high school student and asks if Shizuki is trying to start a fight. Shizuki apologizes, though he can't help but think that no matter how he looks at him, the boy really does seem more like an elementary schooler. He also notes that the boy's way of speaking doesn't help. Annoyed, the boy pushes Shizuki and calls him unpleasant before walking away. Later, Kusunoki apologizes to Shizuki for making him look for her. He assures her that it's fine and that he should have guessed she would be in the schoolyard. However, deep down, he can't stop thinking about how annoying it is to run into that arrogant and foul-mouthed kid during his search. As they walk back to class, Kusunoki mentions that she speaks with Rarisa and asks her to cancel the introduction. Shizuki is surprised and asks if Rarisa takes it badly, but Kusunoki reassures him that she actually takes it well. This surprises Shizuki even more. He can't understand how someone as persistent as Rarisa can be brushed off so easily. Shizuki can't stop thinking about how strange everything feels. He glances at Kusunoki, who, noticing his gaze, gives him a bright smile. Embarrassed, he quickly looks away, deciding to stop overthinking and focus on staying cautious in case Rarisa tries to approach him again. Either way, his high school life is just beginning. Moments later, the teacher announces the start of the exam. After the tests, Shizuki's expression shows his success. He scored a 95, an almost perfect score. Feeling a bit smug, he wonders if he might have taken it too seriously. Curious, he glances at Kusunoki, wondering if she at least manages to avoid failing. Looking at her test, he's stunned to see a perfect 100. Later, when he asks her about it, she proudly and slightly flustered confirms her flawless score. Shizuki congratulates her, though inwardly, he wonders if she's awakened some hidden power or if she's actually the protagonist of some manga. Still excited, Kusunoki asks Shizuki if she can buy him something to celebrate. She also insists on treating him to a drink, saying it's thanks to his help. Shizuki declines, saying it was her own effort and that he had nothing to do with it. Kusunoki insists, clarifying that she wants to go to a fancy cafe nearby known for its exceptional drinks. Shizuki, who usually avoids sweet drinks, considers refusing, but faced with Kusunoki's persistence, he gives in and agrees to go. Later at the shop, the employee informs them that their order will be ready soon. Anticipating a short wait, Shizuki decides to find a seat. That's when he spots the same young man from before sitting at one of the tables. Both of them are caught off guard. As he approaches, Shizuki considers avoiding the situation, but something catches his attention. The young person in front of him is wearing a skirt. Noticing Shizuki's gaze, the young person becomes uneasy and calls him a perv. Shizuki, confused, asks why he would assume that, arguing that it's normal to be surprised to see a guy wearing a skirt in public. At that moment, the young person jumps from her seat, declares that she's a girl, and grabs Shizuki by the collar, demanding to know if he's looking for a fight. Meanwhile, Kusunoki approaches with drinks and asks Shizuki if he's found a place to sit. Shizuki immediately responds that they should find another spot since this one is dangerous. Kusunoki glances at the small girl and suddenly calls her Mo-chan. Shizuki, shocked, asks if she knows her. Kusunoki denies it and quickly starts pulling Shizuki away, insisting that they need to leave. As they begin to walk off, the girl suddenly calls out to Kusunoki, addressing her as my lady. Excited, the girl grabs Kusunoki, overjoyed to have found her and recognizing her despite her different appearance. She exclaims how wonderful it is to meet her here and, noticing her uniform, is thrilled to realize they attend the same high school. Shizuki remains confused by the situation as the girl enthusiastically asks Kusunoki what grade she is in. Kusunoki, growing more agitated, suddenly flees, insisting that she has the wrong person. Moments later, Shizuki is stunned to realize that the girl is actually Kusunoki's classmate. Kusunoki confirms it, saying she recognized her immediately since she looks exactly the same as before. Shizuki finds this satisfying and asks for her name, to which Kusunoki responds, Otobi Mo. Kusunoki had been classmates and friends with this girl in elementary school, but they lost contact when Mo moved abroad. After learning this, he asks Kusunoki why the girl called her my lady and if she came from an important family. Embarrassed, Kusunoki denies it, explaining that Mo gave her that nickname because she liked a character from her favorite movie, and Kusunoki reminded her of that character. Since it was getting late, they decide to head home. As they walk, Shizuki asks Kusunoki why she ran away from Mo when they were friends. Kusunoki explains that she ran away because she has become a completely different person, which confuses Shizuki. She continues, explaining that when she spent time with Mo in the past, she was more radiant, energetic, and the center of attention in class. This surprises Shizuki, as the Kusunoki he met in high school was nothing like that. Kusunoki continues, revealing that after losing contact with Mo, she became a lonely person with communication issues. She is certain that if Mo saw her in her current state, she would be disappointed. For now, until she can fix her issues, she has decided not to talk to Mo. Unfortunately, Mo keeps searching for her, but Kusunoki remains determined and always manages to escape. This leads to an obvious outcome for Shizuki. Mo eventually turns to him, asking how she can get close to Kusunoki and reconcile. Shizuki, of course, cannot do anything to help, as that is not up to him, which leaves Mo disappointed. Shizuki asks what they were like when they were friends. After thinking for a moment, Mo describes it as a princess and her entourage, to the point that people around them would tease her. She clarifies that she actually admired her. The princess was beautiful, intelligent, elegant, kind, and radiant. Mo firmly tells Shizuki that Kusunoki was always the most popular in their class. This information makes Shizuki reflect on the fact that, despite what Mo is saying, the Kusunoki he knew in middle school was completely different from the image Mo describes. He wonders what could have led Kusunoki to become who she is today. Mo continues speaking that maybe she was the only one who thought they were friends. Shizuki tells her that things might not be as they seem and that a lot has changed since elementary school. Instead of cheering up, Mo becomes even more discouraged, admitting that he might be right, since Kusunoki has matured unlike her, who is still the same girl as before. After saying this, she sighs before apologizing for wasting Shizuki's time. She says she will forget about it and give up since she and Kusunoki are in completely different stages of life now. With that, she leaves, leaving Shizuki feeling slightly guilty. Back in middle school, Kusunoki approached Mo for the first time during recess, asking if she wanted to join her and the boys in a game of soccer outside. The boys got excited at the idea, but Mo found it unrealistic and was uncomfortable dealing with girls she saw as princess types like Kusunoki. With that in mind, she asked Kusunoki if she was good at sports. Kusunoki immediately said no, which did not surprise Mo. However, Kusunoki then said that despite that, she still wanted to play with them. Moments later, everyone was shocked to see Kusunoki stopping every shot. This did not make Mo happy. She accused the boys of letting Kusunoki win just because she was a girl, but they insisted that they weren't going easy on her. Kusunoki was just that good. Determined, Mo demanded that the next shot be hers, refusing to give Kusunoki any advantage. As the game resumed, Mo received a pass and struck the ball with full force. At the goalpost, Kusunoki dives to catch the ball, but it hits her face. Mo quickly runs over to check if she is okay. Kusunoki says it is nothing, though Mo has her doubts since Kusunoki's nose is bleeding. Kusunoki wipes her nose and says she is fine, smiling as she promises to block the next shot properly. That moment is when Mo first becomes fascinated with the princess. These are the memories Mo recalls while sitting at school. She had been happy to find Kusunoki again, but things ended badly. Her attention shifts to the noise of her classmates laughing and celebrating as they admire some cosmetics. Seeing them, Mo feels a twinge of envy, wishing she could be more like them, mature and feminine. She wonders if that is even possible. Later in the evening, Kusunoki is studying when her phone buzzes. It is a call from Shizuki. She answers, and Shizuki apologizes for bothering her. She asks if there is practice, but Shizuki says no and gets straight to the point. He asks why she is not talking to Mo. The question catches Kusunoki off guard. Shizuki reminds her that she once said she would not speak to Mo until she fixed her communication issues, but that goes against what she truly wants. If she wants friends, she should try talking to her. Kusunoki explains that she is not the same as before and does not want Mo to see her like this. She is afraid Mo might end up hating her. Shizuki, now frustrated, tells her to stop saying nonsense. He says she is ruining everything before even trying and asks if she does not want to be friends with Mo again. His direct words finally make Kusunoki admit that she does want to talk to Mo. Hearing that, Shizuki is relieved and tells her to go speak with her directly. He adds that her communication skills have improved a lot, and the compliment encourages Kusunoki even more, making her say she will do her best. Later, after classes end, Mo gets ready to head home when Kusunoki suddenly stops her, catching her off guard. Both of them feel uneasy, unsure how to start the conversation. Mo wonders what kind of divine intervention made Kusunoki want to walk home with her all of a sudden. Looking at Kusunoki, Mo misreads her anxious expression, thinking Kusunoki actually feels uncomfortable being with her. Mo apologizes and tells her she doesn't have to force herself to walk home together. She adds that even though they were friends in the past, it doesn't mean they have to act like it now. She also apologizes for being too persistent before. Kusunoki quickly denies that and says trying to talk to her actually makes her really happy. But she had been afraid of disappointing her. She confesses that after they grew apart, she became a completely different person. She had no friends, struggled with communication, and preferred manga and video games. Because of how she was now, she thought they could never be friends again. That's why she kept avoiding her. Hearing this, Mo feels relieved and asks if that means Kusunoki doesn't hate her. Kusunoki says she doesn't, explaining that she's just not good at talking to others, and that's all. Mo, still surprised, tells her she doesn't care what kind of person Kusunoki is. To her, the princess will always be the princess. What really worried her was the thought that Kusunoki had changed her mind because of her appearance. How she still looked like a child and didn't seem like a mature woman. She thought maybe that had driven Kusunoki away. Kusunoki, confused, asks what she's even talking about, since neither of them is old enough to be considered an adult yet. In that moment, Mo says it is not about that and tries to explain what she meant, but Kusunoki stops her. She says that just like her, it does not matter what Mo looks like. To her, she will always be Mo. After those words, the two of them start laughing, realizing they had said the same thing. The next day, Shizuki walks through the school hallway, worried and wondering how things went with Kusunoki. When he looks up, he sees both of them smiling happily. Surprised, he greets them cheerfully. Kusunoki responds with the same energy, and Mo, noticing his face, teases him by asking why he looks so happy this early in the morning. Shizuki tells her to knock it off. Later, Mo visits Kusunoki's classroom with a bright smile, asking if they can eat lunch together since she made it with care. Shizuki watches the scene and notices how since that day, Kusunoki and Mo have regained their trust and seem to be getting along well. As he watches them, he reflects that this whole situation helped him learn a bit more about Kusunoki's past. From what he heard, she used to be bright, active, and the kind of person who always stood out in class. It makes him wonder why she ended up becoming so withdrawn during high school, a reason he still has not heard. But deep down, he doubts it is a happy story. As he watches Kusunoki chatting cheerfully, that thought lingers in his mind. Shizuki decides not to interfere and promises to leave her alone without bringing up those topics again. Later in the gym, Suji mentions to Shizuki that Kusunoki has been spending a lot of time with a girl from another class. Everyone has been talking about it. According to what he heard, the girl is small. That's when Shizuki says it's Kusunoki's childhood friend, someone she's known since elementary school. Suji is surprised and points out that Shizuki seems to know everything about Kusunoki. Harino then adds that it's only natural for two beauties to get along. Shizuki asks what he's talking about. Harino says it should be obvious. Mo is also super cute. He turns to Suji for confirmation, but Suji hesitates, saying he can't be sure since Mo still has a boyish appearance. This irritates Harino, who argues that neither of them gets it. He says that tan skin and big eyes, even if they look childish now, have the potential to grow into something stunning. Hearing this, Suji mutters that Harino is disgusting. Shizuki, on the other hand, realizes he has never thought about Mo that way. Later in class, Mo walks up to Shizuki and asks where the princess is. Shizuki says he doesn't know and asks if she needs something. Mo says no, she just wanted to see her, and decides to go look for her. Shizuki watches her walk away. Looking closely, he notices that she actually has a very pretty face. But to him, she kind of looks more like a handsome guy. Those words accidentally slip from his mouth, and by the time he notices, it's too late. Mo immediately reacts, demanding to know if he's calling her a guy again and asking if he wants to fight. Realizing his mistake, Shizuki tries to explain himself. He says a friend told him she was cute, and he just repeated it without thinking. This flusters Mo, who asks what he means by that. Shizuki answers that it's exactly what it sounds like. Though now that he thinks about it, she looks more like a handsome boy. Mo lowers her head and sadly says that she's not as feminine as the princess anyway. Irritated, she leaves the classroom. Shizuki watches her go, wondering if he made her angry. Later, back in her class, Mo reflects on how frustrating it is to be seen as a boy. She wonders if she really looks that much like one. Her thoughts are interrupted when a classmate tells her she got a small cut and asks if she has a bandage. Mo says she's sure she has one and starts looking through her bag. Inside, she finds a small hair ornament. She hands the bandage to her classmate but keeps staring at the ornament in silence. Meanwhile, Kusunoki scolds Shizuki, saying it's no wonder Mo got upset. She explains that Mo has a feminine side. She likes sweet things and collects cute and small accessories as part of her hobbies. This surprises Shizuki, who never imagined it because of Mo's usual boyish behavior. Kusunoki continues, saying that maybe his words really hurt her. This makes Shizuki think more deeply about what he said. Later, while cleaning the stairs, Shizuki is still thinking about the situation. He wonders if Mo is still upset. It feels awkward being stuck in this tension, so he decides that when he sees her again, he'll apologize. Just then, he hears someone coming down the stairs. He looks up and is shocked to see Mo. She sees him too but keeps walking. Then something catches his eye. Mo is wearing a hair ornament. It's clear now that what he said earlier did affect her. She wasn't wearing it that morning, so it can't just be a coincidence. As he stares, Mo glares at him and asks what he's looking at. She snaps at him, demanding to know if he's going to call her a boy again. Shizuki lowers his gaze and apologizes for the way he treated her. He admits he was rude but didn't mean anything bad by it. He says he genuinely finds her face well-defined and beautiful. She asks what he means by beautiful, and he corrects himself, saying her face just looks really cute to him. As Mo tries to respond, she suddenly stumbles forward. Shizuki quickly catches her before she falls, and she ends up pressed against his chest. After pulling away, he advises her to be more careful. He then picks up the brooch she dropped. She takes it, visibly uncomfortable, and puts it in her pocket. This surprises Shizuki, who asks if she won't wear it again. She says no, claiming it doesn't suit her anyway. He tells her she's completely wrong and that it actually looks really cute on her. She gets flustered and tells him to stop bothering her before running off. Shizuki stands there thinking he upset her again, feeling like she's hard to deal with. Meanwhile, Mo hides behind one of the columns downstairs, unable to calm what she's feeling. She mutters that Shizuki is really annoying, her face clearly flushed. The teacher announces the start of the holidays. Kusunoki tells Shizuki how exciting it is. During the break, he starts working part-time at a cafe owned by his uncle. One of the part-timers had suddenly quit, and they invited him to help out over the holidays. With no plans and in need of money, the offer fits perfectly. Shortly after starting, his uncle asks if he has a girlfriend. Shizuki finds the question annoying and says he's not interested in that kind of thing. His uncle calls him boring, which only adds to his discomfort. Despite acting indifferent, Shizuki feels uneasy as Kusunoki's face pops into his mind. He wonders if maybe she really does mean something to him. Before he can finish the thought, the door opens. He welcomes the new guests and freezes when he sees Kusunoki and Mo standing there. Mo cheerfully says the rumor was true, he really is working at a cafe. Still confused, Shizuki asks what they are doing here. Mo casually replies that they just dropped by. Shizuki turns to Kusunoki, frustrated that she came despite him asking her not to. Kusunoki apologizes, saying Mo insisted and dragged her along. Mo defends Kusunoki, saying Shizuki should stop blaming her and focus on serving his customers, which annoys him even more since he cannot be rude to them. He tells them to sit wherever they want. Meanwhile, his uncle leans in and whispers, asking which of the two is the real candidate. Shizuki brushes it off, saying they are just friends. Knowing how things will go, he decides to serve them as quickly as possible so they will leave. But at the counter, the two girls take their time choosing what to eat. They ask what the special cake of the day is. Shizuki says it's the mango cake. Delighted, both choose that one. When Shizuki turns to prepare their order, seeing their smiles, Shizuki forgets his earlier thoughts about wanting them to leave quickly. He decides it's fine if they take their time. After finishing their food, Kusunoki asks about Shizuki's uncle. Shizuki tells her he went out earlier to run some errands. Kusunoki asks him to tell his uncle that the cake was delicious. Shizuki agrees, then asks what they plan to do next. Kusunoki, excited, says they're going to catch insects. They're heading to the store first to buy some nets and baskets. She and Mo exchange determined looks, silently challenging each other to see who catches more. At that moment, Shizuki realizes why Kusunoki and Mo get along so well. The girls decide it's time to go, though Mo says she needs to use the bathroom first. While Mo is away, Kusunoki apologizes to Shizuki for showing up at the cafe unannounced. Shizuki tells her it's not a problem and that she doesn't need to worry. He then asks if they have a lot of plans for the break. Kusunoki says Mo has a ton of plans lined up. But then her mood softens, and she admits she misses Shizuki, especially during vacations when they rarely get to see each other. Worried about how to take that, Shizuki stays quiet. Kusunoki then suggests they play together during summer break, catching him off guard. Before he can respond, Mo returns and says they're ready to leave. They ask for the bill. Shizuki rings them up. Mo casually says they'll be back later. Shizuki, sounding blunt, tells her there's no need. Mo replies that she can't agree to that, since part of her wants to see his annoyed face again like before. Hearing that, Shizuki starts thinking. Mo still doesn't like Shizuki. After this exchange, Kusunoki gets ready to leave, but before she goes, Shizuki calls out to her and says he will contact her later so they can talk more about what they mentioned earlier. At that moment, the cafe doors open again. Shizuki welcomes the new customers but is stunned to see Rarisa walking in with a friend. Rarisa is surprised too, but when she notices Shizuki's reaction, she smiles. She greets Kusunoki and says it's quite the coincidence to see her there. When she sees Shizuki's uniform, she's surprised to find out he works at this place. Shizuki is in disbelief. He wonders why Rarisa had to show up now of all times. Kusunoki asks Rarisa why she's here, and Rarisa explains she's hanging out with a friend from middle school and they decided to stop at the cafe for a break. She calls it a big coincidence. Then she asks Kusunoki if she's also out with friends. Kusunoki nods. Rarisa then glances briefly at Mo, making her a little uncomfortable. Mo starts pulling Kusunoki away. Rarisa says goodbye, and Kusunoki is dragged outside by Mo while still looking at Shizuki. Later, Mo asks about the girl they saw earlier, and Kusunoki explains she's just a friend. Then Mo invites her to go buy nets and baskets to catch bugs. Kusunoki agrees, though she still looks uneasy. She silently wonders if everything is okay inside the cafe. Inside, Maya looks around with excitement, amazed by the place. Rarisa tells her to calm down. Meanwhile, Shizuki is frozen. He keeps asking himself why any of this is happening. Rarisa isn't the only one here. Yamauka Maya, another classmate from his old school, has also shown up. As Shizuki turns his back to the girls, Rarisa watches him closely, surprised that he is really here. She feels like she owes his friends for the information. Before their vacation started, while Rarisa walks across the schoolyard, she hears Harino complaining that Shizuki has been spending all his time with his two new friends and lately everything seems to revolve around him. Harino guesses they must be enjoying summer break together, but Tsuji corrects him, saying Shizuki has been working at his uncle's shop. Rarisa sees this as a rare chance. Shizuki has been avoiding her lately, and she has no way to reach him otherwise. Meanwhile, Shizuki's uncle is surprised to learn that both girls are also his classmates. Jokingly, he asks if Shizuki is only surrounded by pretty girls and wonders if one of them is his girlfriend. Shizuki answers that even as a joke, he doesn't find it funny. Just then, new customers walk in, and Shizuki goes to greet them and guide them to the counter. That's when he overhears Maya asking Rarisa if that's the guy she likes. Rarisa confirms. This makes Shizuki uncomfortable, and while serving one of the customers, he ends up raising his voice nervously. Still in conversation, Rarisa tells Maya his name is Shizuki and that he's in the class next to hers. Hearing his name spoken like that instantly grabs his attention. Maya pauses for a moment, then asks Rarisa if they used to have a classmate at their old school with the same name, someone known as Shizuki the Loner. She says they were in the same class. Shizuki feels a wave of fear. He's terrified she might be connecting the dots. But Rarisa stares at Maya and asks who that is, completely unaware. This shocks Shizuki. She doesn't even remember. Maya is surprised too and asks if she really doesn't remember. Rarisa answers that she tends to forget people quickly. While this is happening, Shizuki stands in front of the counter dazed. A customer tells him they'll call him over if they want to order. Realizing how lost he is, he apologizes and steps away. As he walks, he thinks about how Rarisa didn't recognize him at all. He tells himself this is a good thing, that it's convenient, that he's glad. But the tears start falling anyway. The truth is too clear. He quietly apologizes to his uncle and heads outside to get some air. With his head down, he passes by Maya, who watches him go. She turns to Rarisa and asks what's wrong with that guy. Rarisa glances toward Shizuki and sees the way he walks with his head low. And in that moment, something clicks. A face from her old school flashes through her mind. She's stunned. She finally remembers who Shizuki really is. Meanwhile, Kusunoki and Mo are at the park catching insects. Mo excitedly shows off the mantis she caught, but Kusunoki seems distracted. Mo notices and walks over, asking if something's wrong. Kusunoki seems distracted for a while. She admits something is bothering her but doesn't explain further. Deep down, she hopes Shizuki and Rarisa can get along. Meanwhile, back at the cafe, Shizuki is surprised when his uncle tells him that both girls left right after he did. Concerned, his uncle asks why he left so suddenly. The question reminds Shizuki of the unease he felt earlier, especially after hearing Rarisa didn't even remember him. He brushes it off, saying nothing happened and apologizes for leaving so abruptly. He realizes that even though Rarisa didn't recognize him, nothing about his current situation has really changed. Later, while wiping down tables, his uncle walks over and tells him he can head home. Shizuki tries to refuse, but his uncle insists on handling the closing shift and even suggests he eat something sweet to cheer up. In the storage room, Shizuki feels completely lost, not just because of how he acted, but because he ended up worrying his uncle too. Later on, walking down the street, he considers stopping by a shop to buy a manga and lift his mood. But just as he looks up, he unexpectedly runs into Rarisa. She greets him casually. Shizuki is surprised to see her and asks what she's doing there. She says she's been waiting for him, which shocks him even more. She tells him there's something she wants to talk about. Shizuki walks past her, saying he has nothing to discuss with her. She calls him cold, especially considering how well they got along back in middle school. Hearing that makes Shizuki freeze. He realizes she does remember him after all. He tells her they should go somewhere else to talk. Later, as they walk toward the park, Rarisa tries to make small talk, but Shizuki stays silent and just follows behind her. At one point, she asks what is wrong and why he looks so sad. In a low voice, he asks if she remembers him. Smiling, she asks what he means. Agitated, Shizuki tells her to stop pretending and to speak clearly if she has something to say. That's when Rarisa recites their old school's name and his class, asking if he is not that same Shizuki. He freezes when he hears it. She says she guessed correctly, claiming it was obvious from the way he looked at her. Still, she admits she wasn't completely sure at first. Rarisa confesses that she didn't realize it at first, but she remembered the moment he walked out of the cafeteria. She walks closer and tells him he's changed a lot, which is why she didn't recognize him at all. With a smile, she congratulates him on his high school debut. Shizuki steps back, shaken, and tells her not to mock him. As he moves too suddenly, he slips and falls. Ririsa casually walks over and touches his cheek, asking if he is okay. But Shizuki forcefully pushes her hand away and covers his face with his own. She calmly asks if he feels sick because of her. His face turns pale. She seems to have hit the mark. Then she smiles and says he is easy to read, guessing that he hates her so much that just seeing her makes him feel sick. Shizuki explodes, shouting that she is lying, because she didn't even remember him. Ririsa quietly agrees but says that now she does. She tells him that back then, every time she talked to him, he would blush, which made her think he liked her. Shizuki cannot deny it because it is true. He was a lonely boy, and she had approached him. He liked her a lot. Even when everyone in class looked down on him, she still greeted him like normal, without any disdain. For him, she felt like a light at the end of the tunnel. She was the most popular in class, but she still treated him kindly. She felt different from the others. Or at least, that's what he used to believe. That's when Ririsa tells him that he was just idealizing her. She then sits down and asks if that's the secret he had been hiding. Shizuki asks what she plans to do now that she knows. He asks if she's going to threaten him or expose him. Ririsa looks surprised and asks what he's even talking about. She stands up from the bench and tells him there's nothing to gain from doing something like that. She assures him she's not going to threaten him, and she'll even stop chasing after him so he can be at peace. In a disappointed tone, she adds that she thought he was hiding some huge secret, but apparently, it wasn't anything impressive. She apologizes, then starts walking away. At that moment, Shizuki raises his voice and asks her to stop interacting with Kusunoki. Ririsa stops briefly, then turns back with a smile and says that it would be impossible. Later, out on the street, he realizes that all the effort he put into hiding his secret had been pointless because, in the end, she didn't even care. Thinking about everything, he can't help but feel like an idiot. While walking with his head down, he runs into Kusunoki, who looks surprised to see him. She tells him it's just a coincidence that they ran into each other, and tries to explain that she had been playing a lot with Mo, and was just walking around the area. Shizuki, noticing her reaction, tells her there's no need to lie. He can easily tell she had been waiting for him. He starts walking, and she follows, explaining that when she saw Ririsa arrive at the cafeteria and noticed the anxious look on his face, she got worried. Shizuki admits that he feels scared and pathetic. Kusunoki shifts the conversation and asks if he's thirsty. He doesn't understand the sudden change in topic, but she insists, saying the job must have worn him out. She then takes his hand and leads him toward a vending machine. After buying some drinks, Kusunoki smiles and says nothing beats a cold drink in summer. Shizuki realizes what she's trying to do and apologizes for making her worry. She asks if something is bothering him, and he seriously asks how she deals with unpleasant memories. Kusunoki looks at him and says she dives into manga, anime, and games to distract herself. Shizuki laughs and says that sounds just like her. Kusunoki continues, saying even then, she still can't completely forget the bad memories. Even while doing things she enjoys, those memories come back and replay in her mind. She says she has also had rough times in the past, so she knows it's impossible to completely forget. But lately, she remembers them less often. Shizuki looks at her curiously, and Kusunoki gives him a smile, saying it's thanks to him. Since they became friends, she started having a lot more happy moments. By making more happy memories, the painful ones are slowly disappearing. After saying this, she hesitates for a moment, then smiles again and asks if he wants to make lots of fun memories too. From now on, she wants to be by his side. Blushing, she admits that what she said sounded a little cheesy. With tears still clinging to his cheeks, Shizuki tells her they will do that and play together. Kusunoki agrees. Later, as they say goodbye, Kusunoki turns, raises her hand, and with a bright smile says they'll have lots of fun during the holidays. Shizuki waves back, a bit embarrassed by the crowd, but as he watches her walk away, he notices a warm feeling in his chest. Despite the despair he felt after running into Ririsa, being with Kusunoki feels completely different. Shizuki can no longer deny it. He likes Kusunoki. Sometime later, Shizuki reflects on the past. Back in middle school, he fell in love with Arisa, the most attractive girl in class. Now in high school, his feelings have shifted toward Kusunoki, who is also considered the most beautiful in the class. This makes him wonder if he has a weakness for pretty girls. After everything that happened with Arisa, he had promised not to fall for another pretty face. He had started to distrust girls like that. But now, it seems he's repeating the same mistake. Even so, he knows what he feels about Kusunoki is different from what he felt for Arisa. Still lost in thought, his phone suddenly rings. When he checks it, he finds a message from Kusunoki with a cheerful idea. She suggests a beach trip. According to her, it would be the perfect way to enjoy the holidays, and the ocean could help ease their minds. Shizuki, however, thinks it's a terrible idea. The two of them alone on a beach is definitely not something he can agree to. He replies by saying that only two of them going to the beach felt a bit odd, and Kusunoki agrees, saying it would be more fun if more people came along, so she planned to ask Mo. That's when Shizuki starts to panic. Things just got worse, now it would be him with two girls. To fix it, he says he'll bring his friends too. Kusunoki is surprised and texts back saying she doesn't want any other boys to see her in a swimsuit except for him. This catches him completely off guard and shakes him a little. While he's still trying to figure out what she meant by that, his phone buzzes again. Kusunoki apologizes for being selfish and agrees to let others come. Shizuki, thinking it over, tells himself her words probably don't mean anything. Then he flops back on his bed, realizing he's being pulled in by Kusunoki again. Meanwhile, Kusunoki invites Mo right away. Mo hesitates since going to the beach means wearing swimsuits, and she's about to say no. But when Kusunoki mentions Shizuki hasn't been feeling well and this trip is to cheer him up, she starts to reconsider. Kusunoki adds that if Mo doesn't come, Shizuki won't invite his friends, and it'll just be the two of them. That's enough to convince Mo to join. Kusunoki also invites her to go buy swimsuits before the day of the trip. Later, while shopping, Kusunoki shows Mo a cute cow-patterned swimsuit, but Mo immediately rejects it, saying it looks weird. She then pauses to look at Kusunoki's chest and comments that Kusunoki seems to be well endowed. Ignoring the topic, the girls continue browsing and eventually pick out their swimsuits. After that, they leave the store. Mo is exhausted while Kusunoki looks radiant, proud of how well she did. Mo tries to say something but stops when she sees Kusunoki's expression. Kusunoki is gazing into the distance with a slight blush, wondering if Shizuki might like her too. She quickly apologizes for spacing out, and then invites Mo to grab a drink before heading home. As they walk down the street, Mo keeps watching her and thinks this is the first time she has seen Kusunoki make that kind of expression.
Later, the long-awaited beach day finally arrives. Shizuki is nervous, since it's his first time going to the beach with friends. Harino jokes that he still can't believe Shizuki invited them, especially when he's showing up with two cute girls. Suji mocks him too, teasing that being popular seems like a struggle for him. Shizuki defends himself, saying he only came because he was invited and couldn't turn it down. Just then, Kusunoki and Mo interrupt the conversation, arriving in their swimsuits and apologizing for the delay. Due to the delay, the group draws attention as they arrive, causing the boys to blush. Harino thanks Shizuki sincerely and decides to start enjoying the beach. Kusunoki approaches Shizuki and asks for his opinion about the swimsuit Mo picked out for her. Shizuki, nervous and embarrassed, compliments the swimsuit but quickly changes the subject by asking if everyone is ready for warm-ups, leaving Kusunoki surprised by his sudden shift in interest. What she doesn't realize is that Shizuki's heart is racing. Determined to avoid Kusunoki for the rest of the day, Shizuki keeps his distance. Meanwhile, the others begin to attract attention as people around them wonder what kind of activity they're about to start. Kusunoki and Mo are having a swimming race in the sea, and Kusunoki wins easily, revealing her unexpected skill in swimming. Shizuki is surprised, wondering how someone with that kind of talent ended up on their side. Just then, Harino shows up and suggests they all play volleyball, asking Shizuki to invite the girls. Shizuki tells him to ask the girls himself, but Harino refuses, saying it's his first time meeting Mo and that he hasn't spoken to Kusunoki since he introduced them. With no choice, Shizuki goes to invite the girls himself. He finds them playing nearby and tells them about the volleyball match. They agree to join. Shizuki notices that Kusunoki still keeps her distance from Harino and Suji, and deep down, he hopes this trip helps them grow a little closer. The game begins. Suji takes the role of referee while the others play in pairs of one boy and one girl. The teams are set, Mo with Shizuki and Harino with Kusunoki. Kusunoki watches silently as the game is about to begin. Moments later, Shizuki and Mo suffer a complete defeat, even though they give it their all. Shizuki can't stop himself from feeling the sting of the loss. Meanwhile, excited, Harino tries to high-five Kusunoki, but she is too distracted to notice. Realizing it, Harino quickly apologizes, and Kusunoki does the same, leaving both in an awkward moment. After that, Suji suggests they get something to eat. Since not everyone needs to go fetch the food, Harino proposes that, as punishment for losing the game, Shizuki should be the one to go buy it. Shizuki argues that losing the game has nothing to do with it, but Harino insists that it's part of the rules. Kusunoki, meanwhile, is lost in thought, staring at Shizuki. Suddenly, whether by impulse or distraction, she touches Shizuki's back, startling him. Kusunoki is just as surprised by his reaction. Embarrassed, Shizuki apologizes for overreacting, but Kusunoki apologizes too and offers to go with him to get the food. Feeling awkward, Shizuki says she doesn't need to go since she won. He asks Mo to come along with him instead. He invites Suji too, though he first refuses, saying he was only the referee, but eventually he gives in. With a slight frown, Kusunoki watches them walk away, her heart heavy with a confusion she can't explain. Harino walks over and is surprised to see her crying. Concerned, he asks what's wrong, but Kusunoki insists nothing is, even though it's clearly not true. Harino gently suggests they return to the shade. Sitting beneath the umbrella while they wait, Kusunoki continues crying, and Harino has no idea how to handle the situation. Then, suddenly she asks if Shizuki is acting differently. Confused, Harino asks what she means. Kusunoki explains that his attitude seems a bit cold. Harino thinks about it and replies that Shizuki has always been like that, but Kusunoki disagrees, insisting he used to be kind and that until recently he had been acting normal. That day, however, his behavior feels extremely off. After a brief glance at Kusunoki, Harino says he understands. He tries to explain that the circumstances that day are different. Kusunoki lowers her gaze, realizing what he means. He continues, saying that even if they're friends, she's still a girl, and maybe Shizuki is starting to be aware of that. The thought that they might not be able to stay friends crosses Kusunoki's mind. She shakes her head and argues that Shizuki isn't like that. She says he's her friend and she trusts him. That's when Harino realizes how much she trusts Shizuki. With that in mind, he suggests that since they're friends, she shouldn't hold back. She can just ask him directly what's wrong. It's a simple question and won't ruin their friendship. Kusunoki agrees, saying it's a good idea. She thanks Harino for the advice and tells him he's surprisingly nice. Then she apologizes, realizing she said surprisingly. Meanwhile, Shizuki, Mo, and Suji finished shopping. Suji says he wants to buy something else and tells them to go ahead. Shizuki and Mo continue walking. As they walk, Mo keeps glancing at him, surprised when Shizuki suddenly asks about her hairpin and why she stopped wearing it. Mo blushes slightly and, pretending to be annoyed, tells him to stop looking at her. Shizuki explains that's not what he meant. He just noticed it was the same hairpin she used to wear on her uniform. Mo is surprised he remembered. She puts the brooch on and lets him know she's wearing it again. Shizuki nods absent-mindedly and keeps walking. His lack of attention annoys Mo, who complains that he has no idea how to treat women. Shizuki, however, doesn't understand why she's upset. Later, the group decides to head back home. Harino and Suji say they're exhausted. On the other hand, Mo claims she can keep swimming and calls the others weak. Shizuki thinks the change of scenery turned out to be refreshing, and he should properly thank Kusunoki for it. Meanwhile, Kusunoki is preparing herself mentally. Then, stammering, she announces she forgot something and asks Shizuki to come with her to retrieve it. As expected, he asks why it has to be him since it's the girls' locker room. At that moment, Harino steps in, realizing Kusunoki wants to talk to Shizuki alone. Harino says he also forgot something in his locker and asks Shizuki to get it for him, winking at Kusunoki to show he's in on it. The two walk off together. As they walk, Shizuki notes how much the sun has gone down. Kusunoki nods, and Shizuki asks what exactly she forgot. Kusunoki admits she lied. She just wanted to talk to him alone because there's something important she needs to say. She asks Shizuki what's going on with him and why he's been avoiding her lately. Kusunoki insists that he's been acting differently. She says she invited him to the beach because she wanted him to feel better, but it seems like she might have done something that upset him. Shizuki finally understands what Kusunoki had been trying to do all along. With the best intentions, she had gone out of her way to cheer him up and had even taken the trouble to invite him. But even so, he couldn't tell her how he truly felt. He had to lie. So he tells her he was embarrassed because last time, she had seen him crying. That moment of vulnerability made him feel ashamed, and it's the reason he'd been avoiding her. He reassures her that she didn't do anything wrong. Kusunoki feels genuinely relieved. She says she didn't know that was the reason and adds that she's also shown him plenty of embarrassing sides of herself. So they're even now and he shouldn't worry about it. She's just glad it wasn't something else. Curious, Shizuki asks what she meant by that, but Kusunoki brushes it off and keeps going. She tells him that if anything ever happens or he needs help, he can talk to her like always, since they're friends after all. Kusunoki gives him a sweet smile, and Shizuki nods in response, but his face shows a completely different emotion. After everything that happened, summer comes to an end. The students return to school under gloomy, rainy weather. In class, Kusunoki and Shizuki greet each other like they always do. But Shizuki gets distracted watching Kusunoki in front of her mirror, fixing her hair. He asks what's going on and why she keeps looking at herself. She replies that since it's a rainy day, she's worried her hair might be getting frizzy. Shizuki suddenly remembers that she used to have curly hair back in middle school. When he brings it up, Kusunoki explains that her hair isn't actually curly at all. She asks if he really thinks so, and he assures her it doesn't look strange. Kusunoki, blushing slightly, says that if he thinks so, then she's fine with it. Shizuki blushes back at her, but in the end, they're still just friends. He tells himself that it's better this way and he doesn't want to ruin their bond with foolish feelings, even though his face clearly says otherwise. Later, Shizuki walks out of a bookstore, quietly celebrating that he found the book he wanted. Taking that detour turned out to be worth it. Looking up, he notices the rain has stopped, so he decides to walk for a bit and catch the bus instead of the train since it would be faster. Once on the bus, he realizes it's packed. He walks deeper inside looking for space, and that's when his eyes widen. Rarisa is sitting in one of the seats. She notices him, and Shizuki quickly turns his gaze, feeling that same familiar discomfort. He wonders why she's there and whether he should leave, but doing that would only make it seem like she still matters to him, which she doesn't. So instead, he chooses to stay and sits next to her, the only seat left. Rarisa looks surprised for a moment, then smiles and says she figured he'd try to run away. Although uncomfortable, Shizuki tries to stay composed and tells her he's not scared or anything like that. Rarisa asks if he's fallen for her again, which he immediately denies, saying he actually hates her. Rarisa leans in with a teasing tone and says it's a shame, because she doesn't hate him. Shizuki is caught off guard, but she quickly adds that doesn't mean she likes him either. Shizuki, now irritated, tells her to stop making fun of him and says she has a bad attitude. Instead of arguing, she nods in agreement and, while looking away, admits it's true, adding that no one knows it better than she does. Her response makes Shizuki curious, wondering if she might actually be upset about something else. Later, Shizuki complains that they ended up getting off at the same bus stop. She laughs and keeps teasing him, asking if they'll be going home together. He tells her to stop bothering him, still wondering why she's following him and whether she might be some kind of stalker. Suddenly, Someone approaches from behind and calls out to Rarisa, saying it's a coincidence to find her there and asking if she's on her way home. Rarisa turns around, surprised at first, but her expression quickly fades into something blank. She walks up to the man, calls him Koji, and asks what he's doing there. The man says he just finished a meeting with a client. Watching from a distance, Shizuki quietly wonders who the man really is, since he clearly doesn't look like her father. The man then invites Rarisa for tea. Rarisa says she has something to take care of and leaves with the man, leaving Shizuki confused. His surprise grows when he sees the man place a hand on Rarisa's shoulder. He wonders about their relationship. They seem too close for it to be just casual. Maybe a relative or someone even closer. After thinking it over, he catches himself. He should not be worrying about this. They are not even friends. Later, rain begins to fall. Somewhere else, Rarisa says goodbye to Koji and enters her apartment. She throws herself onto the couch and mutters that adults are idiots. The next day at school, Kusunoki is surprised when Shizuki asks if she has spoken to Rarisa. He asks because he is still curious about Rarisa's relationship with that man. Kusunoki shakes her head and says the last time she saw Rarisa was back at the cafe. Shizuki is caught off guard by this. He had told Rarisa not to get close to Kusunoki, and she had smiled and responded without agreeing. Yet it turns out they have not been in contact. Kusunoki hesitates a little before adding that during vacation, Rarisa contacted her and invited her out. But Kusunoki declined, thinking Shizuki wouldn't like it. Shizuki agrees silently. It is true. He did not want Rarisa getting close to Kusunoki, but even so, he knows he cannot stop it. He then asks Kusunoki if she actually wants to get along with Rarisa. Kusunoki says yes, but adds that she does not want to do anything he dislikes. Shizuki tells her she should not hold back because of him and that there is no need to worry. He is fine with it. Kusunoki nods, but she also asks if something ever bothers him, he should let her know. Then she asks him for something else. Kusunoki asks Shizuki not to start ignoring or avoiding her without saying anything. Shizuki agrees, assuring her that he will always be honest with her. Right after, a classmate calls out to Kusunoki to talk to her about something. As Shizuki watches her leave, he cannot shake the feeling that everything is already over for him. Later, in Rarisa's classroom, a classmate informs her that someone from another class is looking for her. Rarisa is surprised to see Kusunoki at the door. She walks over and comments that it's unusual for Kusunoki to come looking for her. Then she glances toward her classmates and sees them whispering, so she takes Kusunoki to a more private place to talk. Away from everyone else, Rarisa asks why she came to see her. Kusunoki apologizes for not being able to attend any of Rarisa's invitations during the break. Rarisa says she doesn't have to worry about it since their schedules didn't match, though she admits she felt a little lonely. Hearing this, Kusunoki becomes nervous and insists she never meant any harm. She apologizes again, this time bowing deeply. Rarisa tells her to calm down, saying she understands. With tears in her eyes, Kusunoki asks if she's forgiven, and Rarisa says yes. Kusunoki smiles brightly and thanks her. As Rarisa watches her, she thinks Kusunoki really is too honest for her liking, something that irritates her deeply. Kusunoki continues speaking and says that she would like to hang out with him one of these days. It doesn't have to be during vacation, after school or whenever she has free time would be fine. Rarisa then asks what she thinks about meeting that same day after class. Later, Rarisa thinks back to the first time she saw Kusunoki. The first thing that came to her mind was how much she resembled the idol she admired, the leader of the group. She was honest and radiant. Yuno was everything little Rarisa dreamed of becoming. While watching the idol show with excitement, her mom interrupted to say it was time to turn off the TV. Rarisa asked to finish watching the interview, and her mom gave in, saying there was no helping it. Then, putting that aside, her mom asked if things were going well at her new school. Rarisa answered yes, saying she was getting along with everyone. At school, a girl approached Rarisa during lunch and asked if she was done eating. Rarisa said no, admitting she was a slow eater. She urged her to hurry. Some of the boys offered to help her finish, but Rarisa politely declined, saying it was her portion, and she would eat it herself. The boys were charmed by her answer, but the girl seemed annoyed by their reactions. She suddenly said she would leave, adding that if she waited for Rarisa, break time would end. Rarisa told them not to worry and that they could go ahead, so they apologized and rushed after the girl. Rarisa always tried to be thoughtful and kind to everyone because she wanted to become like Yuno. Some time after that, the girl walks up to Rarisa and asks what she thinks about it. Rarisa asks what she means. The girl proudly explains that she had put on a bit of makeup, and Rarisa hadn't even noticed. The two other girls say they already figured it out since she looked really pretty. One of them adds that she looked amazing and even seemed mature. Rarisa smiles politely and tells the girl she looks cute but reminds her that those kinds of things aren't allowed at school. The girl is annoyed by the comment and asks what she means by that. Irritated, she grabs her two friends and tells them she'll show them her makeup tools, leaving Rarisa behind. Rarisa is taken aback. Without saying much, her expression shifts into something colder as she quietly thinks that even with makeup, the girl is still ugly with that kind of attitude. Little by little, Rarisa realizes she's straying further from her own ideals. Later, the girl asks Rarisa if she told the teacher. The girl accuses her of reporting the makeup and says she got punished and had all her stuff taken away. Rarisa defends herself, saying she didn't say anything. The girl insists she's lying. The only ones who knew about the makeup were the four of them, and Rarisa was the only one who openly disapproved of it, which meant she had to be the one who told. Rarisa firmly says it wasn't her. She turns to the other two girls, asking for their opinion, but both remain silent and ignore her completely. Rarisa is stunned. The girl declares they will no longer be friends with Rarisa and tells the other two to do the same. Though clearly uncomfortable, they agree. In that instant, Rarisa realizes everything has ended. She had truly wanted to get along with everyone, had held back this whole time, always smiling and acting kindly. But now it all feels like a waste. The girl says they're leaving and tells Rarisa she brought this on herself. At that moment, Rarisa finally snaps. Letting her dark side slip out, she tells the girl that wearing makeup was a mistake. More precisely, she asks if she had ever looked in a mirror because the makeup didn't suit her at all. Stunned, the girl asks what she means. Rarisa replies with a glowing smile, saying she's just being honest. The girl bursts into tears and runs away. Yuki steps forward and tells Rarisa she went too far. Rarisa shoots her a sharp look and asks if she really doesn't feel the same way. Yuki stammers, unable to answer. Rarisa takes her hand and with that same piercing gaze, urges her to tell the truth. Before Yuki can respond, Mai interrupts, admitting that she also thinks the same. She always found it weird. Encouraged, Yuki adds that even Yamada once said it looked strange. Rarisa is surprised for a moment, then breaks into a smile and places her hands over theirs and says it's good that they all agree. Now they can get along, and she encourages the three of them to be friends. From that day on, Rarisa realizes that if she hides her weaknesses and uses them to her advantage, life becomes surprisingly easier. But one day, a piece of news shakes her world. The contract of Yuno, the leader of the popular idol group, gets cancelled due to underage drinking. The sudden news shocks and disappoints fans, but Rarisa feels something else: relief. Yuna is beautiful, kind, and honest. She seems like the perfect girl, but Rarisa has never believed someone like that could actually exist. That thought had taken root in her since that day. But everything changes when she spends time with Kusunoki. Despite everything Rarisa had done, Kusunoki apologizes even though she is not at fault and asks if they can stay friends. Rarisa finds this hard to believe. A person like that shouldn't exist. Even Kusunoki must have some hidden flaws. She becomes desperate to find it. She wants to see the dark side she believes Kusunoki is hiding. While walking next to her, that thought continues to bother her. Kusunoki mentions how hot and humid it feels even though it is already getting dark. Rarisa nods, studying her closely. Kusunoki keeps smiling, and Rarisa starts wondering what she can do to wipe that expression off her face. Setting that aside, Rarisa asks Kusunoki where they should go, and if there is anything she wants to eat or drink. A bit embarrassed, Kusunoki says there is a drink she would like to try. They go to the shop, and after tasting it, Kusunoki cannot hide her satisfaction. She thanks Rarisa for coming with her. Curious, Rarisa asks if she liked the drink. Kusunoki nods enthusiastically and says it's a limited edition drink, and Rarisa asks if Kusunoki visits that cafe often. But Kusunoki shakes her head, explaining this is only her second visit. She admits she feels embarrassed going alone and says the first time she came was with Shizuki. Hearing that, Rarisa lets out a small laugh and says it seems like the two of them get along well. Kusunoki agrees, though a bit nervously. Rarisa watches her closely, then adds that she also used to get along well with him a long time ago, surprising Kusunoki. Rarisa asks if she wants to hear about the kind of relationship she had with Shizuki. Kusunoki, however, is left speechless. She wants to hear it, but at the same time, she doesn't. Her uneasy expression is enough for Rarisa to keep going, revealing that she and Shizuki went to the same middle school. Kusunoki tries to hide her reaction, but her face gives her away. Rarisa notices and asks if she already knew. Kusunoki admits she did. Then Rarisa adds that Shizuki used to like her back then. Kusunoki doesn't know how to respond to that. Rarisa apologizes, suggesting maybe Kusunoki didn't want to know. Kusunoki shakes her head and says it's fine, but then Rarisa steps closer and asks if she likes Shizuki. A bit flustered, Kusunoki raises her voice and firmly denies it, catching Rarisa off guard. After a brief pause, Rarisa smiles. Kusunoki apologizes for raising her voice and clarifies that she likes Shizuki, but not in a romantic way. She would never see him like that. Rarisa listens closely to that last part. Trying to change the topic, Kusunoki asks Rarisa what they should do now. Rarisa starts walking and tells her they can think about it while they walk, since they still have plenty of time. After everything that happened, summer finally said its last goodbye, making way for falling leaves and cool breezes. Autumn had arrived, and with it came the highly anticipated cultural festival. This year's highlight would be a performance of Beauty and the Beast, and excitement filled the air, except for Shizuki, who preferred to stay out of the festive chaos. He wasn't the only one feeling that way. Glancing to his side, he noticed Kusunoki trembling, her expression clearly showing how scared she was of the event. Then, in an unexpected twist, it was announced that the play wouldn't be limited to theater club members. Any student could be chosen for the lead roles. That meant everyone had to stay after school to decide the casting. Later, the students gathered in front of the organizers to figure out who would play which role. When one of the organizers asked who wanted to act, no one stepped forward. The silence dragged on, building a heavy sense of frustration in the air. Breaking the stillness, a student named Irie spoke up, saying it was boring to decide things this way. She volunteered to assign the roles herself. When asked why she should be the one to decide, Irie explained that she was in charge of the script, so it made the most sense. She declared that the role of Belle should go to Kusunoki. Kusunoki froze, shocked by the decision, but the rest of the class agreed, praising Irie for her good judgment. Shizuki, watching from nearby, approached Kusunoki to ask how she planned to handle this. To his surprise, she said she had already decided to accept the role. He asked if she would really be okay. She admitted she was terrified and didn't actually want to perform at all. There is a wall between her and her classmates, but she hopes this play will help her improve her relationship with them. It is a perfect chance to expand her social circle, adding that it is not fair to always rely on Shizuki. Shizuki only feels a strange discomfort. He keeps questioning what is wrong with him. Meanwhile, Irie continues organizing the papers. With the role of Belle already decided, she asks who wants to play the Beast. As expected, all the boys raise their hands, eager to act alongside Kusunoki. After thinking for a moment, Irie immediately rejects all of them with a serious expression. The boys, not giving up, press her for a reason. Irie explains that her instincts tell her one of them fits better as Belle's father. On the other side, Kusunoki is about to suggest the role of the Beast to Shizuki, but she suddenly stops mid-sentence. Shizuki, confused after not hearing the rest, asks if she was about to tell him something. She assures him it's nothing and falls silent again. While Shizuki sits thinking, Airi approaches and asks to speak with him. He's surprised and asks why. She says it's about the play and that since he's the director, it makes sense for her to talk to him. This surprises Shizuki even more. Airi adds that they can talk after school and walks away. Shizuki remembers he was chosen as the director, a decision Airi made based purely on intuition. Kusunoki, who's sitting beside him, says it sounds like a tough job. Shizuki agrees and says he regrets accepting the role, but Kusunoki looks genuinely happy that he is the director. When he asks why, she explains that having him watch over her closely brings her a sense of relief. He jokes that he is not her bodyguard, and she says she understands but still trusts him as the director. Shizuki asks her to stop teasing him, but with a smile, she assures him that she's not. After that, Shizuki starts thinking that maybe being the director won't be so bad after all. Later, during the meeting, Airi brings up that they still haven't decided who will play the beast. No one seems like the right fit, so she asks for Shizuki's opinion. He starts thinking about the options. The boys who applied that day clearly had hidden motives. Sato is too plain for the role, and the rest are questionable. That's when he gets an idea. What if they cast a girl instead? It would be a bold twist, and there might be some good candidates among the girls. Airi considers the idea for a moment before agreeing right away, which surprises Shizuki. When he asks about her reasons, she says it's not only a great idea, but she already has a few girls in mind who could pull it off. Shizuki is glad to be of help and gets ready to leave, but before he can walk away, she stops him, saying now that they've decided, the next step is to negotiate who'll actually play the beast. Later, Shizuki is relieved to finally head home. The girls they had in mind all turned down the offer. He figures the role might be too demanding for them. But in the end, everything gets sorted out and rehearsals are set to begin next week. He knows even bigger problems are waiting. As he walks down the street, he hears someone shouting for another person to stop. Curious, he looks up, wondering if it's a fight. In the distance, he sees Rarisa visibly upset, being pulled away by the same man he saw once before. The scene shocks him as he tries to make sense of what's going on and who that guy is. Shizuki immediately recognizes the man. He's the same person he had seen once before, someone he suspects might be connected to Rarisa. He isn't entirely sure, but the man's sudden appearance near the school unsettles him. The man keeps questioning her, clearly irritated by her resistance. Rarisa tells him she never agreed to go home with him. The man, confused, reminds her she once mentioned wanting to, but she quickly shuts him down, saying it was just a joke. Seizing the moment, she firmly tells him not to show up at her school without permission. The man nods in agreement, admitting they're drawing too much attention. He then shifts to a softer tone, urging her to get in the car so they can talk more calmly. Rarisa tries to resist, but it's no use. At that moment, Shizuki impulsively calls out to her. Rarisa freezes, shocked that he's witnessing everything. Shizuki has no idea what to say. He acted without thinking, and now he stands there, unsure of what to do next. Rarisa studies him closely, as if trying to figure something out. Suddenly, her face lights up with a bright smile. She says out loud that she has been waiting for him for a long time, leaving Shizuki completely confused. Taking advantage of the moment, Rarisa slips free from the man's grip and insists that she needs to go home because she had already planned to leave with Shizuki. Koji glances at Shizuki, says he understands, and adds that he will get in touch with her another time. With that, he gives one last look and drives away. Still trying to make sense of what just happened, Shizuki stands frozen. Rarisa approaches and thanks him for saving her, in a way. Her sudden closeness makes him uneasy. Annoyed, she tells him it's frustrating how he still hasn't gotten over that reaction whenever she gets close. After a short pause, Rarisa continues walking and thanks him again for helping her out of such an uncomfortable situation. Curious, Shizuki starts following her and asks who that man was. He says he's seen him before. Rarisa quickly lowers her gaze before answering that the man is her boyfriend. Shizuki is stunned, but Rarisa smiles and explains that he is actually her mother's boyfriend. She adds that her mother has been seeing him for a while. Hearing this, Shizuki finally starts piecing things together and realizes why Rarisa uses a different last name at their current school. But what truly disturbs him is the unusually close relationship between Rarisa and that man. His suspicions are confirmed when she calmly admits that the man is attracted to her. Since her mother introduced them, he had shown interest in her. Rarisa, smiling, says she finds him repulsive, but admits she was just playing with him. She would tell him things that made him happy, like promises of dates and other small talk, feeding his hopes. She found it amusing that he was interested in her. Shizuki asks why she would do something like that. Rarisa says it was just to pass the time. She thought it was hilarious that a man his age would seriously fall for a high school girl. For her, it was just an entertaining game. Shizuki looks at her seriously and asks if that was truly the reason. With clear concern on his face, he says he cannot imagine someone like her doing something so risky just for fun. Rarisa stays silent for a moment, then turns to him with a playful smile, saying it seems like he is worried about her. Jokingly, she adds that maybe he still likes her. Shizuki denies it immediately. Rarisa, not taking it seriously, says she believes him if he says so. She keeps walking, but Shizuki cannot help warning her not to get too involved with an adult, because it could end badly. Rarisa stops and turns to him with a smile, saying she'll be fine and that he shouldn't worry. Still, despite her smile, Shizuki notices something different. He had never seen a smile that sad. The next day, Kusunoki performs a scene from her role, leaving Irie impressed by her acting. With the same excitement, Irie announces a short break. Shizuki informs everyone, and after that, Irie stays back to discuss a few things about the play with the students who came to her for advice. Meanwhile, Shizuki steps out of the classroom to get something to drink, knowing his presence isn't really needed since Irie handles everything. This makes him think the title of director is just a name. As he walks, a question comes to his mind. Shizuki wonders why Kusunoki is so good at acting. It goes against everything he believed about her. He always thought she would be bad at it. While thinking about this, he notices Rarisa walking down the stairs. As she disappears from view, Shizuki reflects that he hasn't spoken to Rarisa since that day. Still, he dismisses the thought, telling himself it's not like he actually wants to talk to her. Even so, he can't forget the expression she had that day. It stays stuck in his mind. As he continues thinking, Kusunoki suddenly greets him, catching him off guard. He flinches, and she quickly apologizes for startling him. She buys the same juice he's drinking, and they sit on a bench together. After taking a sip, Kusunoki happily comments that the juice is refreshing. Shizuki replies that she must be pretty busy, being the lead in the play. She denies this, saying he's probably busier since he's the director. Shizuki disagrees, explaining that being director is just a title. Irie is the one actually doing all the work. He adds that Kusunoki seems really into the play and explains it's because Irie wants to do that kind of work in the future. Curious, Kusunoki asks why, if that's the case, Irie didn't take the role of director from the start. Shizuki says he has no idea. Setting the topic aside, he looks at her and tells her it's honestly surprising how good she is at acting. Kusunoki denies it, but he insists, asking her if she learnt it from somewhere. Kusunoki explains that she was influenced by someone she likes. Shizuki freezes. He's clearly caught off guard and confused, not knowing Kusunoki liked someone. Nervous, he starts wondering who it could be. Kusunoki then says it's someone who never gives up, always cheerful and honest. Her name is Hama Pikari. Shizuki finally realizes she's talking about a fictional character. He asks if she means that kid's anime character that was popular a while ago. Kusunoki lights up and asks if he's a fan. Shizuki says no, he only knows the name. Kusunoki excitedly tells him he should give it a try and watch it. Shizuki asks why and what she likes most about the character. Kusunoki says she's obsessed with the voice, always trying to imitate it. That's what sparked her interest in voice acting. She starts showing off all the different voices she can do, even imitating birds. The performance goes on so long that Shizuki has to ask her to stop, saying he already understands how much she loves it. Then he gives her a warm smile and says he had been worried about the cultural festival, but now he feels at ease. Kusunoki's expression shifts to a more serious one. She admits it will be her first time performing like this in front of so many people. Shizuki asks why she's suddenly worried about that. Then, with a calm smile, he tells her he believes in her, calling her the main actress. Kusunoki is slightly surprised by his words. She asks him not to make fun of her, but Shizuki says it is payback for the last time she called him director. For Shizuki, everything seems to be going well, but after the break, the girl playing the beast starts complaining, saying Kusunoki stepped on her feet several times during the dance rehearsal. Airi walks over to Kusunoki and asks if she hasn't memorized the choreography. Kusunoki denies it, saying she knows the exact steps, but her body just doesn't move the way it should. Shizuki realizes the situation is getting a little tense. After several days of practice, it becomes clear that dancing isn't Kusunoki's strong point. At first, he thought that since she was athletic, dancing would come naturally, but now he understands that the two things are completely different. Airi then announces they will start the entire routine from the beginning. The girl who complained apologizes, saying she can't move anymore because her legs hurt. Airi insists that it will be just one more run-through before they stop for the day. But the girl, clearly annoyed, reminds her that she already said she can't move at all. Airi gets irritated and tells her that at this rate, they won't be ready in time. The girl snaps back, saying the comment shouldn't be directed at her, because the real problem is Kusunoki, and they're not making progress because of her. Shizuki sees the argument heading in the wrong direction and steps in. He suggests they wrap up for the day since it's already late. Trying to ease the tension, he says everyone has worked hard and should rest. But Airi, still upset, snaps at him for making decisions without asking first. Unable to hold back anymore, Airi tells him he seems to lack courage and adds that if they give up this easily, they will never be able to pull this off. Some of the students decide to leave early. Airi tries to stop them, but they ignore her, saying they're too tired. Watching it unfold, Shizuki quietly reflects on how Airi's energy is too intense and how her pace doesn't match the others, which is starting to cause problems. Kusunoki walks up to Airi and tells her she's sorry for dragging things out so much. Unable to hold back, Airi replies that she was wrong for overestimating her. Even Shizuki is taken aback by her words. When he looks at Kusunoki, her face looks like she's about to cry. Shizuki steps in and asks Kusunoki if they can walk home together. After a moment, she agrees. As they walk down the street, he watches her quietly. Seeing how downcast she looks, he tells her not to worry. He suggests that Airi is probably just irritated and tired from all the pressure of the play. Just then, they run into the girl who plays the beast in the play. Not noticing them, she starts venting, saying everything is a pain. She complains that Airi is too energetic and obsessed with perfection, and that Kusunoki kept stepping on her feet during rehearsals. She adds that if she had known things would turn out like this, she never would have accepted the role. The comment crushes Kusunoki even more. Silence follows. As Shizuki watches her, Kusunoki quietly says she's made up her mind. She's going to quit. She says she's only dragging everyone down, and if she stays, she'll probably ruin the play. Shizuki immediately tells her that's not true and warns her that if she quits now, she'll end up regretting it. She also reminds him that she once said acting was fun. Kusunoki corrects herself with a bit of sadness, admitting that she does enjoy acting, but she simply lacks the talent for dancing. Shizuki listens quietly before telling her that talent isn't everything. She just needs to keep practicing. He explains that even if she is not skilled at dancing, she has something more important, the ability to work hard. He adds that she only needs to keep trying the way she has until now. Kusunoki reacts to Shizuki's words and says there's a reason for that. He is always there to help her. Shizuki gets a little flustered and asks if that's really true. Since entering high school, Shizuki has always been by her side, and she has come to rely on him. Now that things have reached this point, she feels like she should at least be able to handle her own problems, but it seems she still can't. Shizuki is caught off guard hearing this, but after a pause, he speaks with determination. He tells her not to give up. Deep down, he remembers how she reminded him of himself back then, which is why he helped her out of pity at first. But now, if it's for her, he would always be there. Though this last part he doesn't dare say aloud, not even in his mind. At that moment, Kusunoki asks if he is really okay with all this. Shizuki is confused by her sudden question. Then, with a tear ready to fall, Kusunoki looks him in the eyes and asks if it's really all right for her to keep depending on him. Shizuki says yes without hesitation and adds that she can rely on him as much as she wants. With that same energy, he suggests they do a training session to help her improve her dancing. Matching his excitement, Kusunoki agrees. The next day, Shizuki reviews Kusunoki's problem and says that, simply put, her issue is a lack of fluency in her spins. She needs to keep her torso steady, shift her weight onto the sole of her foot, and use her big toe as the pivot when changing directions. Shizuki asks if she understands, but Kusunoki seems distracted. He asks what's wrong, and she says it feels like he must have done a lot of research just to help her. Shizuki confirms it, then adds that the practice starts in 2 days, so they only have that time to train. Kusunoki asks if they can use the school's multipurpose room, and Shizuki says yes, explaining that he already asked the teacher and got permission. With tears in her eyes, Kusunoki tells him he's done a lot for her. Shizuki tells her not to cry over that and says they should get started with practice. Later, 2 students walk down the hallway when a loud scream startles them. Inside the room, Kusunoki looks tense. She has just stepped on Shizuki for the 10th time in a row. They had been practicing for a while. Kusunoki apologizes again, but Shizuki tells her not to worry about it. After checking the time, he says they've practiced enough and should take a break. Kusunoki suddenly drops to the floor and kneels, begging him to sit down, but Shizuki flatly refuses, saying he'll rest normally. A few moments later, they both sit down to take a short break. Kusunoki quietly reads the script while Shizuki asks why she isn't resting properly. Kusunoki explains she doesn't have much time. She goes quiet for a moment, then tells Shizuki that he's incredible. She admits he dances better than her even though she's been practicing and asks if he's some kind of prodigy. Shizuki forces a smile and says it's not that big of a deal, but what Kusunoki doesn't know is that he stayed up all night practicing. Kusunoki continues, saying she feels ashamed of herself. At that moment, Shizuki stands up and tells Kusunoki that her movements are fine, but the problem seems to be mental. He explains that she's so focused on the next step that she can't match her timing with her partner. Feels like she's dancing alone. He says it would be better if she let herself move with the other person and stopped worrying about small mistakes, since those only discourage and distract her. Kusunoki agrees and admits that every time she makes a mistake, her mind goes blank and she panics. Shizuki tells her that's exactly what he meant. He adds that she needs to stay calm because mistakes are normal. He reminds her that she's not a professional and no one expects her to do everything perfectly. Instead, he encourages her to focus on having fun, like when she's acting. Kusunoki takes a moment to think about what Shizuki just said. Then she gets up with a renewed expression and asks him to keep practicing with her. Seeing that he's lifted her spirits, Shizuki agrees. After a few minutes of dancing, both of them stop, surprised. Shizuki looks at her, excited, and tells her that this time she didn't step on his foot even once. Kusunoki nods, equally surprised. Just a simple change in attitude creates a huge difference. As Shizuki sips some water, he asks if Kusunoki had fun. She replies with a bright smile that she enjoyed dancing a lot. Shizuki says he also had a good time, and seeing his smile, Kusunoki feels a sudden tightness in her chest, confused by the feeling rising inside her. Not wanting to lose that moment, Shizuki reaches out his hand and suggests practicing one more time. Kusunoki hesitates for a second when she sees his hand. Shizuki asks if something is wrong, and she quickly answers that nothing is. They start practicing again, and Kusunoki, a bit flustered, suddenly realizes she has been holding Shizuki's hand since that morning. Later that day, after practice, they say goodbye. Shizuki says he's heading home and that they'll see each other tomorrow, raising his hand to wave. Kusunoki stays silent, staring at his hand. Curious, he asks what's wrong. She shakes her head, but after a few seconds, she says firmly that she'll be counting on him tomorrow. After exchanging one last goodbye, Shizuki gets on the bus and sits quietly for a while. Then it hit him he had done something unusual that day. He had spent the entire day with Kusunoki. Focused on practice, he hadn't realized it until now. He starts to wonder if Kusunoki noticed it too. Without meaning to, his thoughts drift, remembering how Kusunoki felt surprisingly soft. Realizing what he's thinking about, he quickly shakes his head and forces the thoughts away. Kusunoki had been devoted to practice with a pure heart, and he should do the same. When he reaches his stop, he gets off the bus and decides to find something to eat. As he checks for nearby places to grab a quick bite, his eyes shift, and then he spots Rarisa leaning against a wall. Instinctively, he hides, unsure if it's really her. Curiosity gets the better of him, and after another glance, he confirms it is. But something feels off. Her behavior seems strange. He wonders if she might be feeling unwell. A wave of concern creeps in, but he tries to push it away. It has nothing to do with him. No matter how Rarisa feels, he has no reason to get involved. He's not going to help her like he did last time. Even so, his eyes drift back to her, and in that moment, he catches a clear glimpse of her face. Without thinking too much, he speaks, surprising Rarisa. Embarrassed and unsure, he asks if she is feeling okay. She looks at him, confused, and asks what he is doing there. He explains that he was just on his way home looking for a place to eat and happened to see her. He adds that she doesn't look well. Rarisa forces a smile and says she is fine and that he shouldn't worry. Shizuki says he would feel bad if he saw someone clearly suffering and just walked away. She responds with a sarcastic tone, saying his level of kindness is surprising. Her words almost make him lose control of his temper. Irritated, he says it seems like she's fine after all, so he'll leave. Just as he turns to go, a small cry stops him. When he looks back, he sees Rarisa crouching on the ground. He rushes over and asks if she's okay or needs to go to a hospital. She shakes her head, brushing it off, and explains that it's just her period and that she has already taken medicine, so she'll feel better soon. Hearing that, Shizuki feels a bit relieved, though the worry still lingers. Before he can say anything else, Rarisa changes the subject and asks for the time. He checks and tells her it's 5:46 in the evening. She reacts with clear displeasure, murmuring that it's pretty bad, and without wasting another second, she stands up quickly. Even though her discomfort is obvious, Rarisa looks at him and says she needs a favor, if he doesn't mind. Shizuki is confused by the idea that Rarisa would ask him for anything, but he still asks what it's about. To his surprise, she tells him she needs him to buy her a cake. The request feels strange, so he asks what it's for. Without giving much explanation, Rarisa tells him she'll explain later. She adds that the bakery is just around the corner and about to close, so there's no time to waste. Still not understanding the urgency, Shizuki asks what kind of cake she wants. Rarisa says it doesn't matter, she just needs one. Without asking further, Shizuki immediately rushes out toward the bakery. Later, Shizuki walks out of the store and takes a deep breath before heading back. Still surprised he made it in time, he wonders who the cake is for. If Rarisa asks so urgently, it must be someone important to her. As he walks, his mind wanders. He remembers her expression earlier and realizes that, for some reason, he didn't feel as uncomfortable as usual. He wonders why. Maybe it was because she didn't seem well. Just as he's lost in thought, a voice snaps him out of it, warning him to watch where he's going. He looks up and sees Rarisa pointing out that he should pay attention to the road instead of walking distracted. Caught off guard, Shizuki asks why she's here. Rarisa explains that since he was taking so long, she decided to come find him. He stays quiet for a moment, watching her. He stares at her face until finally asking if she feels better. Rarisa nods, saying the medicine has already taken effect. Noticing the bag in Shizuki's hand, she asks if he made it in time to buy the cake. Shizuki says yes and hands it to her. She smiles and thanks him, adding that if she hadn't run into him, she probably wouldn't have bought it. She thanks him again, this time more sincerely, with a smile that catches Shizuki off guard. After that, Rarisa asks him to follow her so she can pay him for the cake. since doing it right there on the sidewalk would be awkward. Without saying a word, Shizuki follows her, silently reflecting on how unusual it is to see her show sincere gratitude. The same thing happened when he helped her with that man. Suddenly, something comes to mind, and he tells Rarisa the cake he bought is a classic shortcake. With a bit of hesitation, he asks if that might be a problem. To his surprise, Rarisa stops in her tracks, turns around, and tells him with a genuine expression that she's happy because it is her favorite. Shizuki blinks, visibly confused, and asks if she's going to eat it herself. Rarisa looks at him curiously and asks why he would say that. A little awkward, Shizuki explains that he assumed the cake was for someone else. As they keep walking, Rarisa glances at him briefly and then says it straight. Today is her birthday. Shizuki is stunned. She goes on, saying that since she was little, she always got a cake from that shop on her birthday, and it became a tradition. Somehow, she still craves it every year. Hearing this, Shizuki asks if just one cake is really enough. She says yes, since she's going to eat it alone anyway. Shizuki freezes, shocked by the answer, and wonders what she means, thinking she lives with her mother. Seeing the concern on his face, Rarisa smiles and tells him that he was right to think she also needs one for his mother. At that moment, Rarisa confesses that her mother never comes home after work and always forgets her. Last year was the same, and she has spent several years celebrating her birthday completely alone. With a small laugh, she adds that it is difficult to share these matters. Rarisa becomes thoughtful as a flashback shows her father arriving home and announcing with enthusiasm that he has bought the cake. Young Rarisa runs to him, thanking him excitedly, then drags her mother into the living room. Her mother smiles and says she will begin the preparations. Rarisa is lost in thought, remembering that moment as she wonders how long she will keep recalling these events. After a pause, she tells Shizuki that she has talked too much and asks him how much the cake costs so she can repay him. Shizuki replies that it is not necessary because it did not cost much. At that moment, Rarisa insists that she cannot accept that, adding that she herself had asked for the cake and even urged him to hurry. Shizuki then says that since it is her birthday, there is no problem. Without waiting for a reply, he declares that he must leave and starts running away from Rarisa. She is left surprised, unsure how to react, while Shizuki, confused by his own words as he runs, wonders if he felt pity for Rarisa. When he hears that she celebrates her birthday alone, he finally stops after running for a while, panting and trying to catch his breath while cursing his own actions. Rarisa looks at the cake, thinking about everything that just happened. A faint blush appears as she quietly admits to herself that Shizuki is too kind. On the rehearsal day, Kusunoki dances flawlessly. Her performance impresses even her classmates. Some quietly say she looks incredible on stage. Her dance partner, more surprised than anyone, asks how she improved so much so quickly. Kusunoki replies that she trained hard over the weekend in secret. As she speaks, she glances at Shizuki. He looks back smiling without saying anything. Shizuki says the dance scene is no longer a problem. Still, Irie says there isn't much time left, and they need to move on to the next scene. Shizuki, slightly irritated, mumbles to himself about Irie. She could have at least praised Kusunoki or said something encouraging. Kusunoki, fully motivated, decides that if this is how things are, she'll keep improving until Irie is forced to recognize her talent. Shizuki watches her and notices she's burning with determination. Kusunoki feels more invested and excited about the play than ever. Not long after, Irie grows visibly frustrated and scolds several students for their poor performance. Harino, slumped at his desk, looks defeated. He mentions that Irie has become more demanding as the event day gets closer. Shizuki watches her, concerned, thinking she looks less strict and more like she's about to snap. He then offers to go get drinks and asks if Harino wants something. Harino thanks him. On his way out, he unexpectedly runs into Mo. Without hesitation, she asks if he's done rehearsing. Caught off guard by her appearance and long hair, he struggles to answer. He asks if she's really Mo. With a confused smile, she asks why he's acting like that. He points out her hair, saying he almost didn't recognize her. She laughs and admits it surprised her too. She explains that her class is running a maid cafe for the cultural festival, and a friend suggested she try on the wig. Everything starts to make sense, but his curiosity grows. He asks what she's doing in their classroom. Mo, clearly nervous, says she came to find Kusunoki and wanted her opinion on the wig. He tells her Kusunoki is still inside and offers to call her, but Mo stops him. Awkward and uneasy, she asks what he thinks about how she looks before he calls Kusunoki. Shizuki, even more uncomfortable now, doesn't know how to respond. Mo waits in silence, her grip tightening on the fold of her skirt. It's clear that Shizuki's opinion matters to her. After a moment, Shizuki tells her he doesn't think she looks strange. She immediately grabs him by the collar and demands to know if that's all he has to say. Startled, Shizuki yells at her not to pull him like that. Trying to clarify, he says she just looks different from her usual self, and it caught him off guard. This answer seems to satisfy Mo. She calms down, her confidence returning, and says she looks way too cute, which is probably why he got nervous. Flustered, Shizuki argues that he never said anything like that. Mo laughs, says she loves seeing that reaction, and tells him he must visit her classroom during the cultural festival. Still confused, Shizuki asks why he has to go. Mo says he just has to. If he doesn't, she'll be really mad. She repeats that he better show up, then runs off. Shizuki tries to stop her, but she's already gone. He's left standing there, completely lost, wondering what's going on with Mo. She hasn't even shown that outfit to Kusunoki. Shizuki realizes that understanding women truly feels like an impossible task. Soon, the long-awaited cultural festival finally begins. The cultural festival finally hit, and the place was absolutely packed. The whole campus was buzzing about the class they play, mostly because rumors were flying that the lead actress was gorgeous. Even though the curtain wasn't rising until 1, people were already lining up at 9 in the morning. Harino was walking through the crowd with Shizuki and pointed out that Kusunoki was as popular as ever. He even teased him, asking if he was rushing ahead just to get a look at her. Heading up the stairs, Shizuki realized that he'd spent so much time with Kusunoki he'd gotten used to her. But seeing this crowd forced him to admit she really was that beautiful. Then Harino asked if he planned to walk around the festival with her. Shizuki got totally flustered and shouted that he definitely wasn't. He tried to tell himself he was too busy being the director to think about that, but deep down, the idea of hanging out with her actually sounded nice. Just as he was trying to convince himself he didn't have any ulterior motives, Harino suddenly yelled out, making him panic all over again. Their chat got cut short when Kusunoki suddenly showed up, looking like she was deep in thought about something. She was wearing this fancy gown for the play, and honestly, seeing her like that totally threw Shizuki and Harino off. Inside the classroom, Kusunoki cheerfully explained to a blushing Shizuki that they had just finished tweaking the costume. Then she turned to him with this playful vibe, calling him Mr. Director and asking what he thought. He was stunned for a sec but managed to tell her she looked really good. She got pulled away by some other girls pretty quickly, though. Harino whispered to Shizuki that she looked amazing and called the festival a special occasion. That phrase really stuck with him. He decided right then and there that once the play was done, he was going to ask her out. But then total panic set in. Just as the clock was ticking closer to showtime, someone yelled out that Yuzui had gone home. Shizuki freaked out, asking who was going to play the beast now. Turns out, Yuzui got sick and had to be rushed to the hospital, leaving them completely screwed without a lead actor. Shizuki walked up and saw the whole class in full-blown panic mode. It had turned into a huge argument, with one girl trying to force this other terrified classmate to take the lead role, but she was freaking out, saying there was no way she could learn the lines or the dance in time. Kusunoki looked totally drained and told Shizuki they'd been going in circles for a while with no solution. Shizuki was dying inside. Then Harino just sighed and suggested they should probably just cancel the play since it was hopeless. That broke Kusunoki. She turned to Shizuki, tears welling up in her eyes, and whispered that she really didn't want to cancel. She talked about how hard they had all practiced and how she couldn't stand the idea of giving up now. Seeing her that upset really hit Shizuki. He let out a frustrated groan, realizing he had to do something. Just as the other students were about to give up and go tell the committee it was over, Shizuki yelled for them to wait. He stepped right into the center of the room, grabbed everyone's attention, and dropped a total bombshell. He told them he was going to play the beast. The classroom went nuts when Shizuki said that. Everyone was doubting him, even Kusunoki, but Shizuki just stood his ground and said he could do it. He turned to Kusunoki and explained that he actually remembered most of the lines and the dance moves, so he figured if he just cross-dressed, he could pull it off. He told her to trust him, and she looked really touched, whispering his name like she was about to cry. But then another classmate stepped in and totally shut him down. She pointed out a massive problem. The beast costume was tailored specifically for Yuzui. There was zero chance a guy was going to fit into it. Shizuki and Kusunoki looked shocked because they hadn't thought of that. The class started arguing again, with someone suggesting they just rewrite the script to make the beast a guy. Mo shot that down too, saying there was no time to rewrite the script or make new clothes. Plus, another student pointed out that the whole charm of this version was that it was a story between two girls, so putting a guy in a dress would ruin the vibe. Just when they hit a wall, another girl piped up and suggested that Irie was actually the best person for the role. Irie was completely blindsided and just stood there stammering, having no idea what to say. The whole class realized it actually made total sense. Since Irie already knew the dance and lines perfectly, and the costume barely needed changing, she was basically the only option. Irie tried to back out, mumbling that she couldn't do it, but the girl who nominated her hit her right in the pride. She asked if Irie had forgotten the details since she loved critiquing everyone else so much. That obviously stung. Irie immediately got defensive and claimed she knew it better than any of them. Her confidence actually impressed Shizuki, but the class just took that as a yes and declared it settled, completely ignoring her shouting at them to stop. Total panic set in for her. She grabbed Shizuki and insisted she couldn't do it. But instead of letting her off, Shizuki got super serious. He leaned in and told her she was the class's only hope. Then Kusunoki popped up and started begging her to. Crushed by the pressure from both of them, Irie just groaned in total defeat. The pressure turned out to be too much for Irie. She let out a piercing scream and just bolted out of the classroom, leaving everyone completely stunned. Panic set in immediately because they had just lost their replacement lead and were basically back to square one. Kusunoki announced she was going to bring Irie back herself. Shizuki was worried and asked if she'd be okay going alone, but Kusunoki turned back with this unwavering confidence and told him to just leave it to her. Shizuki was totally thrown off by her sudden resolve and could only watch her go, muttering her name in surprise. Meanwhile, out in the hallway, this blonde guy was telling his friend they should check out the first year's haunted house. He mentioned a rumor about a crazy girl being there, but he quickly clarified he didn't mean she was scary. He meant she was interesting. When they got to the entrance, Rarisa was there greeting people, dressed in this full gothic costume. She stayed perfectly in character and gave them a formal welcome. The blonde guy leaned over to his friend and whispered, asking if she wasn't totally crazy like the rumors said. His friend with the glasses just teased him, saying he was probably just attracted to her. Ignoring him, the blonde guy smirked, turned his full attention to Rarisa, and asked for her name. The direct approach completely flustered her, leaving her speechless for a moment. When the blonde guy pressed for her name, Rarisa stayed perfectly in character and introduced herself as Countess Draculin, which totally confused him. He insisted on knowing her real name, refusing to buy the act, but she just kept repeating that she was Draculin. He tried to introduce himself, but she cut him off with a cold smile, telling him she didn't care about his name and that he should just go inside. The guy and his friend were thoroughly intimidated and walked right in. Rarisa slapped on a cheerful smile for them, but on the inside, she was just annoyed. A moment later, a girl with blonde pigtails walked up. It was Kokoa. She casually greeted Rarisa as Draculin, then immediately asked how many airhead punks she'd brushed off so far, telling her she was being way too half-hearted about it. Rarisa silently decided that for guys like that, a dismissive attitude was all they deserved. Kokoa asked when her shift ended because she wanted to walk around the festival together. She specifically wanted to see the Class A play Beauty and the Beast because Kusunoki was playing Beauty. Hearing that name made Rarisa pause, her thoughts drifting instantly to Shizuki. Kokoa kept talking, figuring that if Kusunoki was Beauty, then the Beast just had to be played by Shizuki. Kokoa caught Rarisa spacing out and asked who she was thinking about, but Rarisa quickly brushed it off as nothing. As they walked through the busy hallway, Rarisa suddenly stopped and asked Kokoa to cover for her, claiming she needed to hit the bathroom to fix her hair. Once she was walking alone, Rarisa started reflecting on her history with Kusunoki. She realized she hadn't actually seen her since that intense confrontation where she discovered Kusunoki's weakness. She flashed back to asking her point-blank if she liked Shizuki and seeing Kusunoki frantically deny it. Her original plan was simple: make her move before the festival and use Shizuki to expose what she believed was Kusunoki's dark side. But things had gotten complicated. She found herself remembering that night on her birthday when Shizuki gave her the cake. Clenching her fist, she realized she couldn't be as ruthless as she planned. She tried to convince herself she didn't have any personal feelings for Shizuki and that he was just a means to an end. But walking down that hallway, she had to admit she was acting totally unlike herself. Nearby, Rarisa heard this non-stop knocking coming from the women's restroom. A girl's voice was urgently calling out a name, which made Rarisa stop in her tracks. She got curious and cautiously peeked around the corner to see what was happening. To her surprise, she saw Kusunoki standing there, looking totally anxious in front of a locked stall. Rarisa was shocked to see her there. She listened in as Kusunoki frantically tried to reassure the person inside. Kusunoki kept insisting that she would be fine, praising her memorized lines and her acting. But then the girl inside just yelled back that she wanted to cancel the whole thing immediately. Rarisa was confused for a second, wondering why they would cancel the play. But then it clicked. She was talking to Irie, who was locked inside having a complete breakdown. The poor girl was crouched in the stall, sweating and shaking, wailing that she absolutely couldn't do it. Kusunoki just stood outside with this sad, understanding look on her face because she knew exactly how terrifying that pressure felt. Irie leaned against the stall door and started opening up. She told Kusunoki she totally understood that fear because she had her own magnum opus of failure back in the day. Irie explained that back in middle school, she was obsessed with the drama club. She was so into it that for their big third-year festival, she took on both the lead role and the director's seat. She remembered rallying everyone for this play called A Cafe Under the Stars. While other kids were freaking out and feeling sick from nerves, Irie was totally unfazed. She actually scoffed at them, thinking their anxiety was pathetic. Back then, she was overflowing with confidence, convinced she had some special gift for theater and knew better than anyone else. The real kicker was that her dad, a famous director, was coming to watch. That was her whole motivation. She wanted to put on a flawless show and get his praise. But looking back, that massive ego was just setting her up for a total disaster. Just before the show started, absolute disaster struck. Club members kept rushing up to her with major problems. The lights were busted, someone tripped and ruined a costume, and another kid was too sick to perform. Everyone was screaming for their leader to fix it. Young Irie was clutching her head, wondering why everything had to go wrong on the one day that actually mattered. She admitted they weren't prepared at all, and the fear of disappointing her dad pushed her to the edge. When the play actually started, it somehow got even worse. She tried to set up her castmate, Hitomi, for a line, but Hitomi just froze. She couldn't say a word and was sweating bullets under the lights. The awkward silence dragged on forever, and even her dad in the audience noticed. Irie tried to save it by improvising, but she was so panicked she started forgetting her own lines too. The whole thing ended in a total train wreck. The audience laughed, the younger students were let down, and worst of all, after the show, her dad didn't say a single word. Irie knew her dad must have been totally crushed that day, and honestly, the guilt was so bad she couldn't bring herself to stand on a stage again. Returning to the present, she wrapped up her story and confessed the real reason she was pushing so hard. She wanted to use this festival as a second chance, a way to prove she could act again. which was why she was so desperate for the play not to be cancelled. She knew she should have just taken the beast role herself to save the day, but that old trauma was holding her back. She started choking up, trying to explain that her biggest fear was going through that kind of public humiliation again. She was panicked, insisting that the risk of failure was way too high and they had to cancel the whole thing right now. That's when Kusunoki finally lost her patience. She raised her voice, shouting that the show hadn't even started yet, so assuming the worst was just plain stupid. Irie flinched, totally startled by the sudden intrusion. Kusunoki's tone shifted from harsh to something surprisingly empathetic. She admitted she knew exactly what it felt like to want to run away from painful memories. But then her expression hardened, and she hit them with the cold truth. If you run away now, absolutely nothing will change, and you'll never be able to move forward. Kusunoki didn't let up. She reached for the stall door and kept telling Irie that the audience would actually love her performance. She basically begged her to believe in herself again. That finally got through to Irie. Her resolve started to waver, and she hesitantly asked if they really thought she could pull it off, admitting she was terrified of forgetting her lines. Kusunoki jumped in right there and promised that if that happened, the whole cast would have her back. She looked Irie in the eye and told her she wasn't alone. Then Kusunoki suggested they use this play to flip those bad memories into fun ones. That hit Irie hard. Her sad expression turned into fierce determination, and suddenly, she just slammed the bathroom door open. Totally startled Kusunoki, Irie yelled that she was done running away. Before Kusunoki could even process it, Irie grabbed her and shouted that they needed to go to the classroom to practice right now. Kusunoki was shocked at first, but that quickly turned into a huge, relieved smile. Mission accomplished. Kusunoki walked away from the bathroom humming happily to herself, glad she managed to get through to her. But as Kusunoki and Irie rushed off to the classroom, neither of them realized that another student was watching them from inside the restroom. Inside the restroom, Kusunoki was totally startled to find a girl with dark hair and a gothic dress waiting for her with her arms crossed. It was Rarisa. She admitted she'd overheard the intense conversation earlier, remarking that Kusunoki was a tough nut to crack. She apologized for eavesdropping, explaining that her class was doing a haunted house, which was why she was dressed like that. Kusunoki panicked and asked if she heard everything. Rarisa didn't waste time and asked if the play was really about to be cancelled. Kusunoki looked defeated and just apologized quietly. She explained that one of their lead actresses had to step in as the lead because of a fever, and things were getting messy. Rarisa took that in with a thoughtful look. She crossed her arms and threw some shade, pointing out Kusunoki was just trying to help, but Irie sure talked a lot about her own drama, specifically that stuff about her dad's approval and her past failure. Kusunoki immediately tried to defend Irie, saying she worked harder than anyone, but Rarisa wasn't done. She basically analyzed Irie right there, suggesting that Kusunoki is getting dragged into Irie's validations issues. She wrapped it up by looking Kusunoki dead in the eye and asking if her efforts were actually self-centered, and if helping Irie was just a huge burden she felt forced to carry. Kusunoki stood her ground in the hallway. She told Rarisa calmly that she didn't see helping Irie as a burden at all. She was super sincere about it, explaining that she knows exactly how hard it is to face past trauma, and that's precisely why she wanted to help Irie move forward. Rarisa was totally thrown off by how real she was being. Her whole cool analyst vibe crumbled, and she realized she'd completely misread the situation. She actually turned away and apologized, admitting she realized Kusunoki was just genuinely worried about her friend. That caught Kusunoki off guard, but she softened up immediately and invited Rarisa to come watch the play. Rarisa paused for a sec but agreed to go. Kusunoki beamed at her, promising she'd put on a performance that would totally blow her mind, then said she had to run because she was short on time. Rarisa just stood there watching her run down the hallway, thinking about how dazzling she was. She compared her to the sun, so straightforward and inspiring. But then her thoughts got a little dark. She started wondering why talking to Kusunoki always left her with this weird feeling. Like Kusunoki was so bright and pure that it made Rarisa feel dirty by comparison. Suddenly, Rarisa slammed her fist down, totally rejecting that self-pity. She told herself she wasn't going to deny who she was. Instead, that resentment twisted into something darker. She admitted to herself that she actually wanted to see Kusunoki look down on people, get jealous, and get angry, just to prove she was as flawed as everyone else. She became obsessed with exposing whatever dark side she was convinced Kusunoki was hiding. Staring at herself in the mirror, she decided there was only one way to do it. She was going to have to use Shizuki. Meanwhile, back in the classroom, Irie was having a total meltdown. She was complaining that her costume was way too tight. When a classmate tried to correct her on a line, Irie snapped back that the problem wasn't her memory, it was the fit. Someone else chimed in, joking that the costume just couldn't handle her. Shizuki and Kusunoki were watching the chaos from the sidelines. Kusunoki murmured an apology, probably feeling bad about the tightness of the dress. Shizuki pointed out that Irie was really struggling, though honestly, he seemed to find it kind of funny. He thanked Kusunoki for convincing Irie to take the role and asked how she pulled it off. But Kusunoki just gave him a playful look and called it a trade secret. Shizuki was watching the rehearsal, feeling pretty confident that they'd be ready in time. But when the clock on the wall hit noon, he suddenly let out a yelp. He just remembered that Mo had told him he absolutely had to be at her classroom by 12 sharp. Kusunoki, standing nearby, saw him panicking and asked if Mo had invited him too. She realized it would be tough for her to get away since she had to help Irie with the emergency rehearsal. So Shizuki offered to go tell Mo that something came up and she couldn't make it. Kusunoki was insanely relieved. She shouted a quick thank you and hurried back to work, leaving Shizuki to deliver the bad news. Over at the Class C maid cafe, things were getting tense. A couple of guys were sitting at a table, and one of them cheerfully told Mo that the maid uniform really suited her. He then made the mistake of playfully demanding she perform a cute magic spell. Mo shot him a furious glare, slammed her hand on her hip, and shouted at them, asking if they thought this was a joke. The guys were totally caught off guard by her temper, wondering why she was in such a bad mood. But honestly, her frustration wasn't really about them. As she angrily wiped down a bowl, she was worrying about why her friends hadn't shown up. She figured Kusunoki was busy since she was the lead actress. But when her thoughts turned to Shizuki, she decided that if he had just forgotten, he was dead to her. While Mo was working, a classmate came over and said a customer specifically asked for her. That confused her since they didn't usually take personal requests. Just then, Shizuki walked in. He spotted her, waved, and came straight over to apologize for being late. Mo immediately got flustered and hit him with the classic, "It's not like I was waiting for you" line, but then admitted she was actually worried since Kusunoki hadn't shown up either. Shizuki explained the whole crisis. A lead actor dropped out, so everyone was delayed. He assured her Kusunoki was fine, just busy with emergency practice, and said he had to run back right away. Mo put on a brave face and practically shoved him toward the exit, telling him to go help his class. As he stumbled out, he overheard two rough-looking guys nearby, definitely not students, talking about how cute that short chick was. One of the guys, the one with a mohawk, loudly declared that the girl inside was totally his type. His friend egged him on to go talk to her. Shizuki froze. He realized immediately they were talking about Mo. He didn't waste a second, he barged right back into the cafe. Mo was surprised and started asking why he was back, but he cut her off. He leaned in close and whispered a warning to watch out for sketchy guys. He told her that between the maid outfit and all the outsiders at the festival, she needed to be careful. He delivered the message and took off again, looking super serious. Mo was left standing there, totally confused at first. Her coworker called her to go clean a table, but she was still processing what just happened. She started wondering why he was so worried about her, considering he usually treated her like one of the guys. Then it hit her, he was genuinely concerned for her safety. That realization hit her like a truck. Her heart started pounding, and her face turned bright red. That realization was too much for Mo. She literally collapsed onto a table in the cafe, groaning in embarrassment. Back at the stage, Shizuki was standing with his classmates, all decked out in their costumes for Beauty and the Beast. He announced they had 10 minutes until showtime and gave this big speech. telling everyone to give it their all so they wouldn't have any regrets. A guy wearing a fake beard teased him, saying he sounded like a legit director, which made Shizuki get all flustered. To get the heat off himself, he turned to Irie, who was fidgeting nervously nearby, and asked if she wanted to say anything to the group before they went on. She looked totally panicked by the sudden spotlight. She hesitated for a second, just mumbling, but then suddenly bowed deeply in front of the whole cast and yelled out that she was really sorry. Everyone was confused, wondering what was happening, but Irie kept bowing and confessed everything. She admitted she'd acted high and mighty, bragged about nailing the role, and then ran away when things got real. She told them the honest truth. She was terrified about being a last-minute replacement. She promised to try her best but admitted she was worried she might cause trouble for everyone. Then, in the tense silence, she humbly asked them to please help her out if she made a mistake. Irie, being that open, completely broke the tension. A bunch of classmates rushed over to reassure her, apologizing for their own behavior earlier and promising to back her up no matter what. Shizuki watched it all happen with a huge smile, seeing the team finally click. Irie was so moved she actually started tearing up. Backstage, Shizuki got everyone hyped, telling them to do their best. As the group cheered, he looked over at Kusunoki and felt that resolve kick in again. He walked up to her and started to say something really important, but stopped himself at the last second. He just waved it off and told her they'd talk after the play. She looked totally confused, but Shizuki told himself he was going to wait until the curtain was down to ask her the big question. Meanwhile, out in the auditorium, Rarisa arrived with her group. They couldn't believe how packed the place was. Tons of guys were there, obviously just to see Kusunoki. As they grabbed their seats, her friends were gossiping about a rumor that the Beast role got recast at the last minute. They were all wondering who the replacement was, having no idea about the chaos that had just happened backstage. As everyone was settling into their seats, this huge guy with long hair and sunglasses sat down with a heavy thud. He looked super intimidating, and the students around him started whispering immediately. Then the lights dimmed, and the announcer officially introduced Class A's Beauty and the Beast. The curtain rose to show Kusunoki on stage as Belle. The narrator explained the backstory: a quiet village where Belle loved books and peace, while her greedy sisters wanted expensive souvenirs. In contrast, Belle just asked her father for a single red rose. The audience was instantly murmuring about how cute the lead actress was, saying she looked like a legit princess. Rarisa was out in the crowd, watching the stage with intense focus. The scene shifted to Belle's father getting lost near the castle. Meanwhile, backstage, Irie was waiting in her beast costume, and the stage fright hit her like a truck. She started trembling, thinking that no amount of rehearsal could actually fix this fear. She pictured the audience as this terrifying sea of eyes judging her every move, and she felt completely paralyzed. Just as she was spiraling, a cast member called out her name, snapping her back to reality. The other actress told Irie she was on and gave her a quick pep talk. Irie was visibly shaking but managed to squeeze out a thank you before stepping through the curtain. On stage, the guy playing Belle's dad was in the middle of his monologue about the rose when he suddenly stopped. The audience started buzzing immediately. They were surprised to see a girl playing the Beast. While they were whispering about the casting choice, that intense guy in sunglasses was watching the stage like a hawk. Up there, Irie was frozen solid. Her face was pure terror. The guy playing the dad did a dramatic fall, but Irie was actually paralyzed. She felt every single pair of eyes on her and couldn't get a word out. Her throat locked up, and she was on the verge of a total breakdown. But just then, she locked eyes with someone in the backstage. It was Shizuki. He was holding up a big sign with her line on it. "What are you doing? That rose is mine." That snapped her out of it. Irie found her voice, turned on the intensity, and delivered the line perfectly, completely startling the other actor. With a massive shout that stunned the audience, she delivered the line with crazy intensity, declaring that the rose was hers. In the crowd, Rarisa and Shizuki were taken aback by how ferocious she was. But that scary guy in the sunglasses actually cracked a subtle, approving smile. Once she broke through that fear, Irie was on fire. She performed perfectly, and the rest of the scenes went super smoothly. Backstage, Shizuki and the guy who played the dad were finally breathing easy. Shizuki noted it was going well and the dance was next. Then it was Kusunoki's turn. On stage, her character asked the Beast if she'd ever danced before. Irie replied that she'd never connected with anyone, so she never had a partner. Kusunoki offered her hand, saying she was here now, basically implying she'd be that partner. They started dancing under a single spotlight, and the audience was totally captivated. Inside, Irie was feeling this huge wave of relief, thinking they were almost done. But then her heels suddenly gave way, sending both her and Kusunoki tumbling to the stage floor.